against anyone. Verse for verse is spontaneous combustion. Trust me, no rapper can dust me. Bounced upon the scene with a theme. Word life, a cup fantasy out cause I differ from a dream. Wisdom lies deep in my molecules. You assumed I fell victim to hip-hop blues. Yo, way off, I stayed on tour often. Rocking spots on the California coast. Ranging on back to Boston, enforcing my theory. Leaving rappers teary-eyed. Find modes who came and thought they had stride. You accustomed to cussing and bluffing, fussing for nothing. Half of y'all crumbs are just soft like muffins I bake. Masterpieces, sharper thesis. Y'all candy-coated motherfuckers stink like feces. Needless to say, how these runners use yours. You retreated when I gave out head for wars. My microphone set is a immensely brick wall. Silent in and out, you slept, so now snore. Who got my back? You ass lord and blast master. Unorthodox combinations from the masters. Mics are menace when it's finished. You get an understanding of what we bringing. No.
My precision is precision. I'm ill in ways you can't vision. I got niggas worshiping law finesse like religion.
Alright, this is King Bucho. Welcome to BDA Boxing, the Boxing Debate Arena. We have a special episode here because we're going to be talking about boxing in general. Champs versus frauds. Who's a champ, who's a fraud, who's a pound for pounder, and who isn't. We're also going to be talking about the Canelo pay-per-view numbers. Apparently, Dan Rafael claims that the fight drew 500,000 pay-per-view buys in the United States. So I just heard about that recently, and we have Jimmy here. Jimmy, what's up?
What's going on, Bucho?
Hey, Jimmy. All right, before I continue, let me just give a shout out to everybody in the chat. JAM84, The Logical Man, GGS, Carl from Australia, Boxing Fundamentals, who else? Some rando, Darth Vader, Eparakua, The Straight Gituro, and The Dawn in the chat. Guys, welcome to the show. Everybody else, Plutonium, of course, always a supporter of the show. Jimmy, let's get this started. Let's talk about the pay-per-view numbers. What's going on? Because there's a whole debate going on the internet, apparently, whether those numbers are true or what's going on. You know more than me about this.
All right, well, there's a couple of things going on here. First off, Rafael is being so disingenuous in a lot of ways. I've talked about it on the show recently. After Dan got fired from ESPN, nobody was letting him in. He wasn't getting any access. It really, because he badmouthed a lot of people, but because of who he was, they had to deal with him. Once he lost his ESPN gig, he lost a lot of his bite. And when you kick enough dudes in the balls and you block 80% of boxing Twitter on the way up, and once you're at ESPN, you don't care, all of a sudden he's island amongst himself, has blocked most of boxing Twitter. He started fucking sucking up to PBC. Remember the legion of, this whole thread of tweets he did talking about, this glowing review of Tank Davis's pay-per-view numbers, going as far as saying Davis versus Cruz, remember, a last-minute, complete unknown replacement to Romero on a Sunday up against collegiate football, did over 100,000, which was just a joke. It was a lie. Everybody knows it. He was just repeating the same thing that was leaked to a different media source. What's his name? Rick Glacier said his sources, and he named who his sources were, a lawyer out of Los Angeles who dealt with the Showtime, said it didn't even hit 50,000. I think he later said it ended up doing, all said and done, 52,000. I believe somebody from Top Rank or Aram said it did. He heard 60, all around there, well under 100,000, which isn't a surprise. Again, you take all those factors in, a complete unknown last-minute replacement on a Sunday up against collegiate football. So the fact that he's willing to go out and co-sign shit that he already knows is bullshit, that it didn't do over 200, but he said that when he talked about how, he's generating, decent numbers and he's covering the bag. He's coming at an angle now that this pay-per-view wasn't successful because it didn't cover the purses. You got Eddie saying, first off, you're saying 500, but what about the other 500,000 plus buys internationally? Dan's argument but that's a fraction of the cost because they don't sell them throughout the world at the same price point. Meaning in the United States, it's $84, 64 if you're a subscriber. So they sold. Even Dan has now said between 550,000 and 575,000 at between $64 and $84. So you do that math, was it 37 million? The gate was 22 million. Now you got to add in another 500,000 buys internationally, but that runs the gamut from everything from $36 up to $64, but it's all over the place. They're not as high as the United States in most cases, but if you add it up, it's enough to cover. They covered. This shouldn't have been a loss for the zone. Now, mind you, if Eddie says a number like he did, or like he just keeps saying it's much higher than that, to what's his name? He's going to wait till they get it all out. But even take Dan's numbers. Let's just take Dan's numbers. He's saying 575,000 USA, another 500,000 internationally. So my thing is, when he was adding up and giving that glowing review to Tank Davis's pay-per-view numbers, how come he didn't break it down international and national in USA? He just said the actual number. So out of that supposed whatever he did against Romero, that was the biggest pay-per-view he did. How much of that was international? How come he didn't break it down that way? Why would he take that stance when it came to Canelo? Right? Why is he breaking it down international, local, and taking such a hardline stance against the zone if it wasn't for a reason? And again, Eddie's saying, and so even after Eddie said these numbers, then he, put him out what he said. Dan, but if you even go by Dan's logic, it still wasn't it didn't lose money. And even 575,000 is still more than Pacquiao's last two pay-per-views. All right? Still more than anything, not Fury and Wilder, although the last Fury and Wilder I don't think did 575 either, the third one. So that was heavyweights and whatnot. What's that? So yeah, listen, it's still I don't know if it's the question, the premise whether Canelo's not the face of boxing. I don't care what demented mindset people have about this guy. He is the mover and shaker. There's nobody else creating. He creates wealth. He takes a kid who never made more than 900,000. I think 750,000 pre-taxed was his highest purse. He instantly got 10 million pre-tax. Life-changing money. Nobody gets that. Why do you think everybody's standing there with their fucking hand out? You know what I mean? It's one hand. They're talking out of the side of the face. Well, he's not the fucking, the face of boxing. Please fight me next, please. I won't fight for a year and a half and beat up nobodies until maybe you can get me in there. It's just so I don't lose my spot. It's just so crazy. I just don't understand where a lot of this comes from. But with Dan, I believe wholeheartedly he's taken. Because remember, if he's now LDBC's boy, and to prove he's LDBC's boy, when he's arguing with people on Twitter, he tags LDBC in. He tags Stephen Espinosa. Hey, check this clown out. This clueless clown, he said about somebody questioning Davis's pay-per-view numbers. And he tagged in Stephen Espinosa and LDBC. Like, wow. Talk about groveling. Like, just, that's so pathetic. So now, okay, so you tied your ship to LDBC. You're his boy. They're going to give you access. You're going to be releasing the numbers. You're relevant. But at the same token, who does LDBC hate more than fucking the devil himself? That man despises Eddie Hearn because he's kicking his dick in every single way. In every way. Any metric, he's beating a bag out of LDBC in the fucking PBC. And they hate him for it. And I think that's where that's the reason why that was said. So yes, that's my spiel.
Jimmy, in the chat, the logical man says, making what? 3 to 6 million for the fight? Of the fight? They are overpaid. Triple G and Canelo. Yeah, I've seen on Twitter people saying that Canelo is being overpaid.
But again, that's not, you know what I mean? Of course. I mean, fuck, everybody's overpaid in boxing, I think, for a lot of people. Yeah, of course, 35 million is crazy. But if that's what he asks for, he can get it. Why can't he get it? Because he's the face of boxing. Why doesn't everybody ask for 35 million?
Well, if he got it,
fucking, somebody can't get it.
Somebody was willing to pay for it, right? Like somebody was willing to pay 35 million for it, and if they didn't lose money, then he's gonna continue asking that amount, right, or something around that amount.
And it made more than $3 or $4 million. Believe me, I guarantee the zone. And remember, two things too. A, the zone doesn't have to split that money with anybody. They own the fucking. There's no. You know what I mean? Provider they're splitting 50% with, like PVC does when they do something on Fox. They have to give half the money right off the top to Fox. The zone owns that platform. They don't have to keep. That's all in their pocket. Plus the site fees. What did T-Mobile give them? I would imagine somewhere between $10 and $15 million up front. Here's a check, 10 to 15 million. Another 22 in site fees. I mean, in live gate. All right, so that's 32 million there. Another easy, probably between 35 and 40 million in U.S. buys, and another, say, conservative side, 20 million internationally. So add those numbers up. You know. If you figure it out, I mean, it's the zone made more than a few million. Did they clean up? No, but they didn't lose money, which most pay-per-views do nowadays.
Jimmy, I think the thing here is that people are comparing Canelo to Floyd Mayweather, and they still want to talk about Floyd Mayweather, even though he's retired. And they don't really talk about Pacquiao, even though he actually did. He had multiple pay-per-views during his peak, but those pay-per-views are not mentioned. They only focus on Floyd. So let's talk about Floyd. Jimmy, why?
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
That? No. What were you saying, Jimmy? Why? What?
No, why the comparison? Why bring up Floyd? I mean, I guess that's the standard, and that's why some people are bringing up the 500,000 pay-per-view buys. And they add to that. Well, Floyd did more than Canelo, as if it's some sort of victory, or I don't know what they want. Like, what are they getting at?
Oh yeah, and he's also the thing is they want to credit Floyd for. They say it's all Floyd. Well, his people do when they talk about that 4+ million pay-per-views sold, but they don't. But they quick to say, well, it's Floyd and Pacquiao. When you hear about the 20,000 people who actually was in a class action suit against Showtime to get their money back because it was such a horrible fight, and it's also credited to destroying the pay-per-view market. That fight did more damage to boxing pay-per-views. I said it after that fight then. I didn't even have to watch it. I just heard what everybody was saying. I'm like, this is going to have an irreparable harm on pay-per-views going forward for decades to come. Because remember, hardcore people are always there. The hardcore knuckleheads who waste their time talking about this shit on YouTube. And, you know what I mean? Like, guys who are really into it like us. We're always going to be there. We're going to buy these pay-per-views, most of them, when they're worth it. You don't get 4 million people involved unless you're getting millions of casuals who don't normally fuck with the sport, but because everybody's talking about it and just the news it's generated will tune into it. A super fight. It's all based off of casuals. Casuals have not returned to the game since 2015, since Floyd. So you want to compare him to Floyd?
Well,
all right. Then also give it to Floyd. He destroyed the pay-per-view market.
Yeah,
Plus,
in my notes,
the piracy
Jimmy, in my notes here, in my notes here, I wrote different era. So when comparing Canelo with Floyd and Mayweather and Pacquiao, if you want, I mean, it was a different era. It was a different pay-per-view era. That was before Floyd destroyed it.
Exactly. Like said, Floyd and Pacquiao destroyed it. Exactly. That fight destroyed it.
And there's evidence of this because, first of all, when Floyd had that fight against Berto, his farewell fight, you would expect that fight to generate a lot of pay-per-view buys since it's Floyd Mayweather and apparently he's so popular, right? And it's his last professional boxing fight. So people are going to tune in. Nobody tuned in. He did terrible numbers. So that was one of the first signs that, after that Floyd Pacquiao boring ass fucking fight, it ruined, it hurt boxing. And then we also had Pacquiao, in those comeback fights, if you want to call them, post Floyd fights, and they sucked too, man. They didn't do great numbers. It was over.
No. And Floyd Mayweather against Conor McGregor did, but because that was mostly MMA fans, just because of but it was a scam. But I mean, it was a money grab. I didn't waste my time. But it's just weird that it's all Floyd when they talk about the numbers, but when they talk about how against, like you said, Berto, that was terrible. What did it do? 400, if that, 300 and some thousand. What's so funny is back then Dan was arguing with Ellaby. It was back then they were arguing with each other about those numbers because it was Dan who reported how bad those numbers were against Berto. So if he was truly, if you want to credit him, if you're trying to say that 4.3 million pay-per-view sales wasn't opponent, it was because of his opponent, you can't, because all you do is say, okay, the next one, if the opponents don't matter, why did the next one do 4 million less? Because the opponents mattered. The one he did before his big $1 million pay-per-view against De La Hoya, I don't remember the fighter's name, but it did 300-something thousand. He fought De La Hoya. It did in the millions. So all his big pay-per-views were against first ballot Hall of Famers, and at the time they were his intriguing fights. So yes. Now, mind you, why was the PBC started? What was what was the pitch him and his attorney Mike Hill gave to the people over at NBC Sports, along with the guy with Waddell Reed? We are bringing boxing back to free television. Yeah. We are going to get it off of pay-per-view because there's an antiquated platform ripe with piracy. So what's changed? Has it gotten better? No, it's only gotten worse. The streaming now is becoming so easy to fucking illegally stream. They're saying on average 40% of pay-per-views are stolen. It's probably even higher.
Yeah.
So, and everybody knows it's a lot easier to fucking pirate a pay-per-view now than it was 7 years ago. It's getting easier.
Yeah.
So they have to figure something out. I agree with Logical Man to a point. Yes, they're overpaid, no doubt. But again, you set the market. When you're the man, you set the market. And eventually, this is all house of cards. It's all going to come crumbling. I think boxing's going to go through, if it's going to survive, it's going to have to go through something, because this is not sustainable. Whatever they're doing is wrong. You know what I mean? But the idea to say that this wasn't this was some kind of bomb. First off, the numbers, even if you just take Dan's numbers on its face, it blows up that nobody gave a fuck about this fight. How could nobody give a fuck about a fight and it still do more than 200,000 sales better than Spence's best pay-per-view numbers with 340,000, I think, against Mickey Garcia? So this thing did 575,000 and nobody gave a fuck about it? I mean, does that make sense to you?
It doesn't make sense at all. And by the way, we have a question here for you, Jimmy. Kenshiro asks, thank you for your contribution, Kenshiro. He says, Jimmy, do you think Spence versus Crawford will do more pay-per-view buys?
Here in the States, I don't know, actually. More than 500, probably not. I doubt it. I doubt it'll hit 500,000. It just doesn't. It's not going to have the same interest, especially the later it goes into the season. As it is now, if they announced it today, minimum of 8 weeks, right, for training camp or whatnot. And the more it goes on, now we're into the year territory for Crawford since the last time he fought. If his people were smart, he'd be like, you know what, we're tanking it. Let's forget fucking Spence for this year. It's just not going to happen. And I'm not going to go into this fight without not fighting for a year. Because Spence fought in the beginning of the year against Ugas. And was it January maybe? I can't remember the month. But he had still fought this year. Crawford, in all essence, should be really saying, yeah, I'm going to fucking take a warm-up. This is ridiculous. Or at least get a fight in. So the longer this goes, I can't believe, actually, I'm still shocked that they made a press release this far away. I mean, over a week, Jimmy, still haven't. Like, you would normally do that unless it was 100% settled.
When would this fight take place?
It's just crazy.
When would
What's that, brother?
Jimmy, can you hear me? Because I think my mic's too low, huh? Fuck.
No, I can hear you. It's a delay. I just everything I say, it's like a second, a couple of seconds behind in my head.
But the sound is loud enough, right?
Oh yeah, I can hear you clear when I hear you. Okay. Yes.
Hey, Jimmy, fuck, I forgot. Oh yeah. Okay, so the Crawford versus Spence pay-per-view would be in November, or what? Or no? Or that's when would that?
Well, yeah. What's today's date?
It's September 21st.
21st. Okay. So, 8 weeks. An 8-week training camp, that's the minimum is what you're going to want. That's 2 months out. So 2 months from today, if that was released today, fight, I mean...
Because you have another Wilder pay-per-view. You have a Wilder pay-per-view as well. So, like, how much are people willing to spend on boxing fights, especially during these economic fucking times? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's only going to get worse because now we're starting to go into the home heating. Remember, all this fuel cost shot up dramatically starting in the spring. Really bad. Wait till home heating costs come into play.
Well, look at
I mean, in
Europe,
Germany,
yeah.
they're heating their fucking houses with wood right now. They can't even get fuel, so shit's going to get bad.
The
So we
price
all
of
know
lumber
that.
is
So
going up.
cut close. Plus, on top of that, the holidays, forget about it. If they try
Yeah.
to pull this thing off in December, no, it doesn't do more than 500,000. They'd be stupid to even put it on in that time.
This is crazy. All right, we have Logical Man. Logical Man, go ahead. I think you wanted to talk
Hey,
about
guys, how you doing?
what's
So,
up, man?
What's going on,
man,
Logical Man?
Jimmy, how you doing, man? But Jimmy broke it down very well. My gripe was that when he was selling, I guess it was Don Raphael. Someone screenshotted it. If you see in the chat on VDA Boxing, he screenshotted Dan Raphael that Canelo did over 500,000 pay-per-view numbers. But then I showed him at the same time. I said, well, some of this stuff is inflated because people have said themselves like, "Hey, see inflate numbers or they hide numbers, right?" So I said, well, I sent him the same screenshot of Don Raphael showing Tank Davis versus what's that guy running Romero.
Yeah.
And then people will say, "Oh, those are fake numbers, inflation." I'm like, well, the same guy you got your numbers from is where I got my numbers. So I'm trying to explain, like, hey, that's kind of a biased narrative that you can't pick and choose numbers. But even though if you said that the 500,000 pay-per-view Canelo is just American, that's pretty well. But still, how much really is it on the outside? Because really, their pay-per-views are way more cheaper. So for every 3 or 4 people that they sell a pay-per-view to, it equals 1 in America. Maybe even lower than that, depending if it's in Mexico or UK.
Well, it fluctuates everywhere from like $36.99 up to $64.99 outside the U.S. So I think on average, somebody did the math. I saw one tweet, but yes, it did. Eddie Hearn say it did well over 500,000 outside the U.S. on top of the 575 in the U.S. So worldwide, it did over 1 million in pay-per-view buys. But if you do site fee plus 22 million at the gate, the fight didn't lose money. Did it make as much money as everybody wanted? Of course not. But everybody knew that after 4 years, right? They stretched it as long as they could. You know, I mean, I wasn't when they first announced it. I didn't want. You know, I was bummed out. This fight should happen years ago. But you know, it is what it is. But with Dan Raphael, the thing is this: if DAZN says a number, if Eddie says a number, you know, when somebody or a representative of DAZN says a number, it's legit. For the same reason, Steve Espinoza, and I have the cut I can actually play with Steve Espinoza's saying. DAZN isn't a publicly traded company. I'll start that from the outset. But Showtime is. So, for instance, Steve said, I cannot, as a representative of Showtime Sports, say we sold X amount of pay-per-views and it be inflated. Meaning whatever number I say, it can't be a lie. Because if it is, I open myself and the network up to a multitude of civil and criminal fucking because it's publicly you can't. It's lying about sales numbers, as you know. It's so you can't do that. Now the Zone isn't a public traded company, so they're not held to the same example, except for the fact that right now they are looking for investors. It's on. It's a well-known. They talk about it in Wall Street and a few different articles about how they're right now talking with different hedge fund groups, investing. I think they're looking to someone to start at 30 million, but they want somebody with like between 30 and 100 million dollars to invest. Same thing implies when you're looking for what's that? No, DAZN. DAZN is looking for invest. The guy who sunk in $3 billion of his own money.
Money.
That was a couple of years ago. Yeah, but he wants more investors. So right now, DAZN. They're looking for investors, hedge fund investors, multiple. They already got a couple. But the thing is, if you're looking for outside investor money, the same law applies, meaning you can't put out, like the Zone can't say, this thing did 3 million pay-per-view sales. And you're like, wow, this fucking thing, these guys got it going on, right?
Okay,
I'm going to invest some money. Say you invest $30 million. Then you find out when you get your revenue sheets or your quarterly, like, wait a minute, this thing didn't even sell half that. For that alone, you could pull your money right out because it was misleading. It's very hard to get your money out of something once you invest, unless you can prove they misled you. You were taken into So it's very important. Like Eddie won't say a number exactly, total yet until he gets them concrete because he doesn't want to get the Zone in trouble. But again, when Dan Raphael talks about numbers from PPC, those are numbers he quotes as sources. the thing is, if you won't say who your sources are, why should we trust it? Because you know what the sources are. It's easy. It's Tim Smith, the vice president of marketing, or the broad that the blonde chick, I can't remember her name, from the PVC. That's who got it. That's their source. But the reason why they're leaking it through him and not putting it out under the PVC, because then they'd be held responsible for it and accountable. But when you leak it through somebody like Dan, they can say whatever. There's no legal ramifications to lie through Dan. Is my point.
Okay, makes sense. This is why I wanted an explanation from somebody that actually has some kind of intelligence. So you explained that so easily without saying other shit or throwing out names. You actually explained it and broke it down to me, and now it makes sense. Okay, now I logically understand what you were saying now. Now let me ask you a question about these investors with days, right? Why can we never get
before you go? Sorry, before you go on with that. That's what I was trying to explain to you on the Discord. Is that
but that's why I kept saying go on the show.
Yeah, but listen, if Mike Compinger or Dan Raffel say, well, a source told me, it's much more different than Michael Benson saying the zone is telling us. They're directly quoting them. So I don't understand why you had to jump on the Discord again and start calling people, oh, y'all just like the LDBC. First of all, you already know we're not like the LDBC. So I don't understand what
see that be there, you getting confused. You must not be reading my stuff good enough. I don't say you guys specifically, like right there in this chat right here. Talk about the people in general in the BDA Discord, not you, not King Mucho, hell no, definitely not Jimmy or Gonzalo. But I'm just saying people in general, they act like that. They pick and choose and be biased. So I wanted to hear from, I don't want to hear from nobody else other than you four. Other than that, to explain stuff. But even you was texting me, and I said, hey, well, BDA, maybe we have some kind of, you are in Canada, it's kind of weird over there. So I said, already you talked to me in text. So I was like, let me just hear what he got to say. But Jimmy already explained everything. Like, I understand completely.
You're looking for the non-black version of the LDBC. I'm telling you, you're not gonna find it.
I already have it, BDA. I will say, it's already around, man.
You won't find it.
What's going on?
You won't find it. It's like searching for El Dorado.
I didn't have to find it. This shit is
like looking for you're looking for the fountain of youth. It's like fountain of youth, but you're looking for the fountain of racism, and it's not in this Discord.
When I send it to you, BDA, I mean, don't be surprised. Don't make excuses. Be like, okay, oh shit, this is really bad. I was okay. I know it's bad.
Mm-hmm. Let's take a phone call, guys.
Good.
Let's take a phone call here. 832, you're on the air. 832, please go ahead.
You hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just here, man, listening to the pay-per-view talk or whatever. I mean, it's cool, I guess. Like, I don't really pay too much attention to it. I'm just a boxing fan, right? I don't really care about the pay-per-view, right? But it at the end of the day, now, like, it's kind of interesting that y'all put it the way I do, man. So boxing, I don't know, like, y'all right though. It's like the pirating is getting a little too out of hand, man. I don't even know what to say about that. Like, I really think about it. I'm like, damn, bro, these boxers really be losing hella money. These boxing organizations. But so, what do y'all think is the real solution to combat all that?
I don't know, man. What's the solution to combat piracy?
Yeah.
Shit.
Technology that we don't have yet, I guess.
Technology? Lower the price?
You know what, man? Can I say what?
Yeah.
I think the only way is like something similar was occurring with cable TV a couple of years ago. I don't know if you guys remember that you used to be able to hack the satellite dishes. Then they got a way around that with digital cable and all that. And then they say, okay, fuck, what's the next piracy? And boom, they found out with IPTV boxes. So now they're starting to realize people do pay for IPTV piracy. They pay, there's service out there where you can pay $15 a month, and people are willing to pay that. The problem is that the fucking cable companies and the satellite companies got greedy, and they started charging for stuff that they didn't need to. Oh, this package, that package, the $100. Some people pay fucking $150 for cable and satellite dish. So the problem here is A, the people being overpaid, as you guys mentioned, and B, offering products that are overpriced. If you give people a good product at a reasonable price, they will buy it. History shows it. But these guys have gotten greedy, and like Bucho said, well, they make a pay-per-view, they break even, they'll keep charging the same and the same and the same over and over until they actually finally start losing money.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Like, do y'all think that, like, let's say, like for instance, take a guy like Tank Davis, right? So, like, let's say hypothetically, like they got rid of all the piracy and all of that. Do y'all think that his numbers will go like, or guys in general, like these bosses, their
Mind
numbers
if I
will
answer
go
this,
like?
Mucho?
Yeah.
Yeah, the numbers will do exponentially way better because a lot of these people that watch this stuff on, piracy stuff, are people that don't want to pay anything. It's the black fans, the World Star people. If they're forced to pay, they will drop the money because most of these guys buy Jordans and other expensive things. The numbers will go up at least about 350,000 more. I know a lot of people that's watching on. If you can actually go look at the numbers yourself, if you Google it, it actually shows the numbers that these sites get from piracy. It gets around from 1.2 million or to 350,000. So imagine that you have to pay for, because they're working on the system with pay-per-view, like UFC. They're working on a doc system that if you watch the video on your TV, it can recognize it. Like if you guys got days right now, if you try to screenshot the screen, it'll turn it black. They're working on the technology to stop piracy like that. So if you use your camera phone, maybe get a new iPhone, they're going to give it a new type of piracy technology, so you can't record it. The whole screen will go black. So they're working on that real soon.
Yeah, the thing is this: if there's enough money, all right, if there's enough money in pay-per-views, to what Logical's saying, they'll develop a technology where when they'll be able to, in a split second, no matter how long you do it, if you start pirating pay-per-view or something that you need to pay for, they'll get your IP address and you'll get a bill. They'll either find your phone, whatever the IP's under, you'll get a bill in the mail. And if you don't pay it, they could drag you to court. Yes, that'd be a pain in the ass, but believe it or not, that would deter a lot of people. If you know what I mean, if you needed a VPN or something to hide your IP, but eventually. But the thing is there enough money in it, or is it an antiquated technology that they have to develop something different? You know what I mean? I don't have the answers for that. I don't know what they're going to do. I would imagine it's going to have to be technology is going to have to solve it.
Caller, anything else?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure a lot of these bosses will be like way bigger. I guess you could say like stars or whatever. But I mean, they are, right? But like, the pay-per-views sometimes don't really reflect that. But I think that if they made it to like that what I just said, do y'all think that it would like change perspectives a little bit, or like, what do you think?
Of course, if they were all fighting on free TV and everybody had access worldwide to these fights, of course, it's a catch-20. It's like this damning thing. It's like you do it because this is how you're paying your fucking fighters, but at the same token, you're doing them a disservice because you put it behind a curtain that only people who are that interested. So it forces. Yeah, no, it is. It's detrimental. It's the only way you can pay a fighter. With the same token, it's detrimental to his worldwide notoriety.
All right, caller, thanks for calling, all right?
All right,
take care.
Bye.
All right. I'm going to open up StreamYard, all right, people? So I think Kenshiro wants to jump on the show. Let me just read two super chats. Rider of the Storm, thank you for your contribution. He says, I enjoy El Pinche Desmadre on this channel. Thank you, Rider, for always supporting the show. Really appreciate it, man. Get These Hands also with a super chat. He says, Fury fans are the non-black version of the LDBC, 100%. I don't know. Fury fans are the non-black version of the LDBC? I don't know.
About that one, yeah.
Not really sure. I don't know where they congregate. But, yeah, Jim.
My thing is this. I mean, of course, there is virulent, obnoxious racists in every race. You hear them. I hear it sometimes on Fridays or whatnot. It makes your skin crawl when it happens. But that's an anecdotal, thing. It's like, well, I know this person. Yes, but you're talking about institutionalized, where it's an organization where there's over 200 pages with over 500,000 subscribers. My thing is this: use what the LDBC, what the general, he calls himself the general, I guess. Nash said that he did the analytics and found out that there was over 17,000 negative videos made about the LDBC. Just right head around that number. So just imagine how big of an institution it is that 17,000 negative videos have been made about it. So it's a very well-established institution. And the thing is, obviously, is there a white LDBC? counterpart, a Mexican counterpart? No, there isn't.
No.
But that's not to say there isn't racist white people and there isn't racist Mexicans. Of course there is. There's ignorance in all shades, man. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
Yeah, but there's nothing like the LDBC. That's the thing, though. I don't see another group. Oh, sure, you can single out a few people that speak nonsense, right? Racist nonsense. But you can't start claiming, see, there's another group like the LDBC, similar to the LDBC. There isn't. Like you said, these channels are big. They have a lot of followers. So that means that there's a lot of demand to what these people are saying, these race hustlers are saying. And it's surprising that there's a lot of demand for that type of content. You know, it's shocking.
It's reflecting of culture. That's all.
Yep. All right, so we agree that there's no other group that is at the same level as the LDBC.
Agree with that. That's as big as an established. I will give you that.
Okay, that's what we've been saying all along. And I remember Rare Breed was disagreeing. He's like, no. Like, come on.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with when you saying how big it is and how like fruitful it is and how many enemies they have. Yes, I definitely agree because they're pretty established. But yes, you can nick and pick small little groups. But when it comes to the how long LDBC been around, there's nothing I can compare to it right now.
All right. Well, we agree. All right. Let me check the StreamYard over here. I have Kenshiro. Oh, shit. Hold on. Kenshiro, go ahead. Yo, Kenshiro. Ah, fuck. Maybe my sound. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds. Shit. Oh, another one. Yo, Kenshiro. Kenshiro, I can't hear you, man. Fuck. Hey, hold on, guys. Fuck. It's not working, Kenshiro. Sorry, man. Anyways, let's talk about... Fuck the pay-per-view numbers. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about the pound-for-pound rankings. So I was looking at the pound-for-pound Ring magazine pay-per-view rankings, and things really haven't moved. And I was going to ask you guys, because I didn't see Shakur Stevenson there, and he's fighting this Saturday. So what does Shakur Stevenson need to do to make it into the top 10 pound-for-pound list? Who does he have to fight?
He got to be a little more electrifying. Like, especially with this Casano fight, even though it's a mixed up style, that's kind of hard for him to defeat. Well, not to defeat, to look pretty in. He got to do something interesting. I think his last fight was pretty good too, against Valdez, and how he did Jaharian. But he gotta excite more. You know, he's not Russia's Haney, but he has to put more excitement and more pressure. I think he can be a big star, man.
Okay, Jimmy.
Well, I listen. There's no denying this kid's talent. See, it ends up splitting down the camp, and what ends up happening? See, I'll be honest. It's not ideological why I don't like the LDBC. I don't like the LDBC. The reason why, because what it does to black fighters in this capacity, it makes people tribalize. Because now, you know, obviously he's black, so the LDBC, even though they went after him, it makes some guys, well, he's black, that's an LDBC guy, I'm going to have to denounce him and talk shit about him. And because of that, I've seen this narrative around him that he sucks, he's this and that. It's like, and it's so far. Listen, that kid is a nasty, nasty boxer. Nasty. Like, his balance is great. His power, right now, we still don't know about it. But look at where he dismantled Valdez. You just go look at other Valdez fight. The kid is a very talented kid. Is he going to cross over and be, to Logical Man's point, electrifying enough to generate that kind of buzz? Well, I know that he did learn, right? All you can ask from a fighter is him to make changes. That fight, when he was at the end of the fight looking at his lump of his eye and the thing, and he was being booed for being so boring. Even Tim Bradley went on to say this was ridiculous. You can't do that. Mm-hmm. He did. He went out the next fight and he wasn't as boring. He tried to make it more exciting. So if he's along that path and he's willing to do it, the question is he willing to show the dog side? Because talent-wise, there's no denying his talent as a boxer. Does he have the dog? If you can bring that dog out of him, I believe he could be a crossover star. He just has to bring it out of him. Will he do it? Who knows?
Yeah, but what I mean, okay, a pound for pounder. I mean, I guess to become a pound for pounder, yeah, he needs to keep on beating champions. Obviously, eventually becoming a featherweight champ. Sorry, lightweight champion, and getting some big names on that resume. But I'm gonna ask another question: for him to become a pay-per-view star or a superstar, whatever that fucking means, why does he have to do though? Because we know that in boxing, just becoming a dominant boxer doesn't necessarily translate into being a popular boxer in terms of attracting an audience, right? So, can he become an attraction? Is he exciting enough? I think he can
That's the
be,
question.
but you know what I mean? Because there was a lot of criticism about his style, that he was boring. But then in other fights, certain fights, he shows us that he can be a little bit more aggressive. So, I'm wondering, can he become a superstar? A lot of people, again, they go back to Floyd. Oh, wait, Floyd did, he was a pay-per-view star. Then this other American boxer can become a pay-per-view star. But can another American boxer become a pay-per-view star? I mean, look at Spence. Is he a pay-per-view star? And he's undefeated.
Well,
he has a decent record, right?
not yet. I wouldn't say. I mean, his numbers went down 50,000, and that's because of inactivity in opponents. That's why opponents matter,
Right.
and that's why his numbers went down. But yeah, no, it's a tricky thing. A lot of it's personality.
Yeah.
So there's so many factors that go in whether or not Shakur will be a star. Again, he had a very robust amateur career, and it took him a while. A lot of guys do. They have a hard time shaking that amateur style where you're just out pointing people. And that's the question. Can he make it? Can he turn it around and become, that pay-per-view star? We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, probably not, only because he hasn't shown that viciousness, that knockout. And again, knockouts sell. It's a bloody sport. And all right, it's a tough. Okay, to this point, how do they promote Davis? They promote Davis as the most exciting fighter in boxing. I'm talking about LB, right? That's the label they put on him. I understand it's a non-qualifier because there's nothing really. How do you quantify exciting? But they say why? Does it matter that he's fighting bums and fucking no hope is because he's knocking them out? So under their own premise, the LB fucking people saying that's the reason why he's putting the seats in the crowd and selling these numbers. It's because he's so excited he knocks people out. The same people who will argue on that behalf saying it doesn't matter he's fighting anybody because he's so exciting because of the knockouts, then turn around and complain, say it shouldn't matter that he has to knock people out. Shakur doesn't have to knock. He's so talented, yes, and appreciate his talent, but it doesn't mean it's going to equate to pay-per-view sales.
Exactly. I mean, look at Andre Ward, right? Before we continue, Paper Tiger, thank you for your contribution. He says team stream. I think he says he streams fights. Why would I pay for $85 for a sparring match main event? Robberies and lackluster undercards. Paying for the possibility of a good fight. So Paper Tiger is making the point here that, you're basically taking a gamble here. By paying $85, you might not get a good fight, and on top of that, you might get a robbery or a lackluster undercard, and that's true, man. It's $85. It's a lot of money, though. $85.
For fights when they have a predetermined outcome, like when you pretty much know what the outcome's going to be, that's ridiculous if it's a pay-per-view, because it is a glorified sparring session. It's the closer the fight is. Why do you think the first Triple G fight sold the most? The first Triple G against Canelo did $1.3 million, $27 million gate, which is a record. I mean, that thing crushed it. So if you add up all their pay-per-view sales, 1.3, 1.1, and this is all U.S. And 5.7. I mean, then 575,000. I mean, it's still, what is that? I mean, it's a little under 3 million pay-per-views they sold to those three fights. But again, by the time the third one rolled around, he was 40 years old. It was really a question of, is he aged out so much, will he get stopped? It was never a question of, Triple G has a real good chance.
Yeah, maybe some people didn't buy the fight because of that. I mean, you factor in that Golovkin is 40 years old and didn't give him a real chance of winning the fight. The Quacks, thank you for rejoining the membership program. He says Andre Ward couldn't sell out a high school gymnasium in his hometown. That was pretty. Yeah, Andre Ward, I mean, a good example of somebody that has talent, but he's like he can't attract a fucking crowd. And I want to thank JG in the chat. He says Shakur Stevenson becoming pound for pound is as likely as my grandma beating Mike Tyson in a fight. I mean, that's. I mean, I agree. Listen, but the thing with pay-per-view stars is like, Jamie, you mentioned inactivity, and I mean, he's with Top Rank. Shakur Stevens is Top Rank, but when it comes to Spence, it's true. Inactivity did hurt his career, and obviously he had an accident. But even before that, after he beat Kell Brook, he lost momentum by being inactive for I don't know how many fucking months.
A year.
It was a fucking year. Okay. So can we blame?
He beat Kimbosos. Was it Kim? I can't remember his name. Kimbosos, whatever you say. It was following the Olympics, right? It rolled right into the. Oh, I forgot his name. I can't remember his name. CAP, whatever. The kid he fought on Coney Island, Spence. He fought him on Coney Island on a Saturday afternoon following the Olympics. So the Olympic crowd poured into his fight, meaning it was on that same station. So he benefited from that. He went from that to flying into England and taking on the champion. His name was the hardest name in boxing, bar none. Without a doubt, that was the height of Spence's, and what happened? What did Heyman do? Put him on the shelf for 11 months.
I don't understand.
Chris Van Herden. Chris Van Herden or let well,
yeah, exactly. What's that? Campo, yes. Yeah, he fought him on Coney Island on a Saturday. That did 2 million views, one of the highest. I think it was the highest boxing match viewed on the whole Fox PBC marriage. That was the highest because it was coming right off the Olympics. A lot of people stayed tuned in. They rolled right into that fight. So his name was, again, hot, not just amongst the hardcores, but among the casuals. Everybody was talking about Spence. And then you take that in, and he goes into this next fight, and it was only like, I think 5-6 months later, he goes into the Britain. So, listen, he should have been fighting 3 months after that. But he didn't. He sat on a fence for 11 months, and they came back against the no-hoper.
Are you blaming the PBC? Are you blaming the promotional company? Are you blaming?
Of course. I'm blaming Al Heyman. He's not a boxing guy. He's a numbers guy. He just looks at the numbers. He goes, okay, I don't have to worry about him now. Who's next? Like, I just got to deal with all these guys I have signed. He's not looking to make a narrative. He's not trying to, create something. You had with Spence, 5 years old, height of his physical prime, hasn't even actually hit it at the time. Went into England, crossed the pond, beat Brook. That was the guy you should have instantly started sinking all kinds of fucking time and effort. But when you have 200 plus fighters, you can't. And he didn't. And all these careers, I mean, look at what the stuff David Benavidez was just saying. What's us at the PBC, man? All we ever do is take fucking these, warm-up fights. Nobody ever fights anybody. That was a shot at Al Heyman. Of course it was. But they can't come out and directly say anything because a part of their contract, it's a, clause there that they, yeah, exactly. They can't say shit about the PBC or he'll fine them. He can take some of their money if they do.
Well, the issue with PBC is what I see is that they had great potential, had a great stable. But the issue with it was Al Heyman was getting his percentage. He didn't care about profit or fight. He always got paid. Remember, the networks themselves, he could take a loss. He don't take a loss on a percentage. Automatically in there, like a manager. He's going to get paid. So the guy was just making fights. That's all he was doing. But if PBC had an actual direction behind it, let's say Eddie Hearn, we would have seen amazing fights. Earl Spence was at his height. At least could have did 400,000 plus pay-per-views.
Easily. Listen, he had the hottest fighters. He just wrung out fucking Golden Boy. He had all their fighters. He had $750 million in cash. And whatever happened, it took 2.5 years for them to make the first big welterweight fight. And they had the whole welterweight division under lockdown. You know what I mean? It just, he didn't care. He's a music guy. It was almost like a goof that he wanted to take over boxing. He started saying back in 2005 when he would call the HBO executive in the middle of the night. The guy, you can read about it in what's his name's article, Hauser. He wrote about it, and he said how Al Heyman used to call him in the middle of the night and say, I could take boxing over. Just But again, that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to when he first started the PBC, they actually had PBC belts. They were going to do away with the sanction bodies.
Yeah.
In essence, he was going to make the UFC. That was his attempt.
Kenshiro, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say in what respect of, I think that Jimmy was saying, or yourself even, in respect to Floyd Mayweather and Pacquiao. I mean, what they did in 2015, I think with piracy.
Sorry, hold on. Clicked something else. I was gonna boost his volume. Hate
That's
fucking
not going to happen
streamer.
now because it becomes so.
Yo, can you repeat that, Kenshiro? And Kenshiro, can you like speak a little bit more, a little louder, please? Can you repeat what you just said? Oh my god. I hate this shit.
I don't know what happened.
Yo, can you
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Kenshiro, can you hear us?
Mute your computer. Mute the mic. I can hear there's feedback. I can hear myself. There's a delay.
Yo, can you hear me?
Kenshiro, you need to mute everything else.
Yeah, I can
so
barely hear him.
Is about the
Jeez.
like the piracy.
He's still
stuff.
talking.
Hey, Kenshiro, listen, it's not working, man. So, fuck it, man. Sorry, man.
Yeah, I can't hear a word he was saying. That
it's not
sucks.
working.
Try to call back on a different device or something. I don't
Because he
I don't-
lives
is
in
he,
the
oh,
UK.
he's
so
overseas.
he lives in the UK, so. Well, if you can call quickly, just tell us what you need to say. Just use the phone line. It's easier.
Right.
Yeah, just fuck it, man. Let's just take a phone call here, and one. I think it's MMA. MMA, go ahead. You see the MMA?
Yeah, it's me. What's going on, Mucho? You hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to say Al Heyman runs his what's his name? His promotion company like it's a record label. As and then we know that Al Heyman used to be in the music business. He asked over a lot of artists like Beyonce and stuff like that. So, there's even pictures that go way back with Michael Jackson, before Michael Jackson even was white. So, he was around there that long. And when I mean he runs like a record label, the hottest guy, pause, he puts focus into them, and then he puts them in the shelf. Like you see, like how, like, any record label, like all their artists, a lot of their artists haven't been putting albums or stuff like that for years. They put them on the shelf and they focus on the other guy. They focus one at a time and stuff like that. And obviously that it's going bad in the long run for Al Heyman. I think it's going to go, his business is going to go bankrupt soon, because why do you think he has to put all these fights on pay-per-view? Even, what's the name, Luis Ortiz versus Martin. That did terrible pay-per-views. Still put it on pay-per-view because, these guys are not pay-per-view stars. They're trying to get the money back. So I think they should make the Spencer Crawford fight, because it'll make them a lot of money and they'll make the money back. But also, I wanted to say this. You wanted me to come on here and say why you guys are the white and Mexican LDBC. Now, at the end of the day, you guys love to bash fighters like Shakur and Devin Haney, right? Like I saw Beater, he loves to say Shakur's woman beater, even though we all saw the footage, right? But let's never mind that, right? But I'm not going to turn people on the show, and you guys are Loma stands. You like to suck off Loma any chance you get. It's like, come on, like, did you not see it? Like, and also, you guys are good with your words, so you are good with being biased, but your fans don't keep it, because a lot of them are low IQ. I'm high IQ, as well. I'm doing all A's, if you didn't know that. But anyway, now, listen, right?
You're thinking.
I just wanted to
Listen,
say that-
MMA. You're ranting me. You're going on for too long. Wrap it
Can I
up.
say something?
Okay. So now prove to me.
Oh, fuck it, man. Sorry, man. It's enough. Gonzalo, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't he part of the BDA supposedly? He's on the fucking Discord day and night. Every time the Discord can be empty like a fucking cemetery, and he won't post shit. But as soon as I post something, he posts something right after.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck? Like
he's a
fucking trolling. Always on the BDA Discord. Now he comes on the live.
Gonzalo.
Talking shit.
I don't like. He's a troll, guys. I just listen to the guy and ignore him. That's what I'm doing. There's no point.
I would. Did he not hear me just praising fucking Shakur, talking about how talented he is?
No.
Well, he's a little slow. You gotta give him a break.
I mean, I say how talented Shakur is. He's the most talented natural guy. 130. You know
Can
what I mean?
break this down about Loma real quick? People be kissing Loma ass. I was one of the guys that thought Loma was kind of overrated, and people, gave him ways to get in big positions to get belts. Well, the guy fought his way back. What I seen what he did to Nakatila and Comey, the dude fought his way through his ranks to be back to number one. So I don't know what people see in their minds, because Tank Davis, the King, would never take those steps to fight those guys. He will never do that. So what Loma did, even after he lost, he came back and took the hard road again. A lot of people don't understand this. These guys are both ranked top 10 legit guys, and he was coming off of a loss and coming into the fire.
Bro, logical man. Remember how fucking feared that Hatchet Man, the kid from Jamaica, was at 126? Like, he was banging dudes out.
Yeah, he was
talking about how big of a power puncher is. Yeah, he made that dude quit. Like, he was making number one ranked dudes quit straight up. Yeah, I'm done. I mean, that dude quit boxing after he fought Lomachenko. Has he even fought since then? The Axe Man?
Well, because
he literally quit boxing.
He couldn't go back to his gym anymore, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man. Because over in Jamaica, you do that little stuff that, you don't go down like fighting, they'll disown you. So he just like gave up completely.
In the chat, Plutonium
I felt bad
Loach,
for the kid. He was a good fighter too. That sucks.
Plutonium, thank you for your contribution. He says, at the end of the day, MMA champ gets wet and moist talking about Haney and Shakur Stevenson. All right, Plutonium, thank you for that. And you are absolutely correct. Plutonium making a lot of sense here. Listen, when it comes to Lomachenko, I mean, I don't know why people want to hate on the guy. He was fighting everybody. I don't know, man. People kept bringing up that loss against Salido, as if it somehow it destroyed his career or it's a blemish. I mean, Marquez lost his first professional fight. Bernard Hopkins lost his first professional fight, and they managed to accomplish a lot of things in the sport. I mean, they're legends, they're Hall of Famers. So it's ridiculous. It's pure hate when it comes to Lomachenko. Pure fucking hate.
That's Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao lost too. Damn, Floyd Mayweather got outboxed by Castillo.
Right.
Okay, my thing is this, guys. How would Shakur Stevens, Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Josh Taylor, how would any of them looked on their second pro fight fighting Salido at that time? Someone of Salido's.
Yeah, but Jimmy, people bring up the
two-time two-division world
Jimmy,
champion.
People
one
bring
of
up
the
the
side fighters.
They keep
What's that,
Jimmy. They
Pucho?
say that Lomachenko, it's a different story because he had over 300 amateur fights, right? So I guess
of course,
yeah.
I mean, that's part of it because he was such an elite amateur. He felt he didn't have to go through, like, everybody turns pro and they do the fucking, blah, blah, blah. They do all the stages it takes. And I'll admit it, I was one of the detractors in the beginning because I don't like change. Because I'm just a fucking pig-headed dude. I don't like. And when a kid coming in a second pro fight wants to fight for a title, what the fuck does he think he is?
Well, it's
He
unfair.
kind of bugged me.
Some people say it's unfair.
Yeah, sorry, brother. What?
No. Some people said it was unfair for other boxers that they don't get a shot just like that, right? They have to work for a title shot.
But no other boxers would ask for it, because you know what would have happened? Think about it. Imagine if Shakur Stevenson, remember what he looked like his first couple of fights? He was still fighting like he was in the amateurs. Because he has to learn. You have to learn that process. But because of his age, like you said, and how much he already fought, he went into a second pro fight. And mind you, he was 126 pounds. He came in the night of the fight, I think, at 134. Salido was 147. Salido punched him in the balls so many fucking times, the referee had to apologize for his performance. If you go look up everybody who wrote about that fight the next day, from USA Today to SB Nation, all they talked about was how outrageous that referee allowed Salido to punch Lomachenko in the nuts all night long. It was incredible. He should have been DQ'd by the 6th round, but instead the fucking Lomachenko didn't quit. And if it went one more round by Salido's own mouth, he wouldn't have made it. He was out on his feet. He couldn't breathe anymore. He couldn't keep the kid off him. Why do you think he said no? They offered him more than double he had ever made in his career for a rematch, and he said no because he knew what the outcome would have been. But they don't talk about that.
Let's take a phone call. 951. You're on the air. 951.
Boom guy, LDBC.
What's up?
What's
Go
up?
ahead.
Yeah, Salido was a dirty fighter. Anybody who did their homework would have seen that Salido was a dirty fighter. 400 amateur fights doesn't prepare you for the pros. It's like playing college basketball and then going to the NBA. There's going to be dirty tricks that the NBA players have. You're young-minded, and that's his promotion team's fault for throwing him in there like that. But Loma has had a good career. There's no slight to it. He's just not white Jesus. That's all I'm saying.
And he was warned by Bob. Bob was against the fight. Bob said, listen, and he did learn. He even said he learned more from the Salido fight as a pro than he has from anything else. He learned a lot. After that, you couldn't tie him up. Look at the difference, the way he fought after that Salido fight. So much different.
You're going to learn one way or another. He learned the hard way, and it cost him a loss. And, on top of these numbers that's getting released by the Canelo fight, you can go back to the past videos. I've said I didn't want to see this. Well, I said that when I said I didn't want to see this fight, I was saying there's better fights to make. But now I'm getting information that DAZN had to finish off Triple G's contract, so they sort of had to make the fight with Triple G. So I understand that. My stance was this fight wasn't worth $85. And I think it would have done more sales if it was less than $85. And Jimmy brought up some points. Well, yeah, the fuel and all this stuff are affecting the numbers. I believe we're going into a recession. So I think people are being tight with their wallets. So I think in a good economy, this would have done 1 million pay-per-views just off the two names alone. You know, NBA players, they're about to retire. They suck. They're not as fast. But guess what? When they have their, what do you call that? Their walk of fame year, where basically you're just playing it's an acknowledgement year. And people come out and support. I think people would have done that.
When you're just basically saying bye to everybody, the place packs out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think this would have done 1 million pay-per-views. But we want to see Canelo, before people say he's too old, we want to see him fight these guys before there's an excuse. Because I think there's two guys that for sure beats him right now. That's why I want to see Canelo. And, yeah, he deserves the time off because he's fighting 4 times a year. So I have no problem with that.
Can you quickly give us those names?
There's
Can
more
you quickly give us those names? Give us those names. Give us the names.
It's Charlo and Benavidez. I don't count Zordo because, I don't think Canelo belongs at 175. I know Beeble said he'll come in at 168.
Yeah.
Beeble said he'll come to 168, but
he changed his tune since then.
Charlo hasn't fought at 168. So. But anyways.
No, but
Charlo hasn't fought the shade. And you guys want to know something? You want to talk about a disgrace? Wrap your head around this, guys. Boots Ennis will have fought for 4 minutes this entire year. If someone as talented as that kid is going to fight 4 minutes in 2022.
That's disgusting, man. That's an embarrassment.
Actually, it's not. It's really not. You think about it, the money is there for Canelo to fight 4 times a year. Some of these guys are telling you they have to have the build-up that I haven't seen this guy all year. Now I'm going to come out and support him. Because I think if some of these guys fight 3-4 times a year, they're going to make. It wouldn't be pay-per-view. They wouldn't even sell 20,000 pay-per-views. And I think it's to do with the climate of what's going on. Nobody has money. It's a recession. I'm working every day, and I can see it. I talk to people. They say, hey, fuel's going up.
I agree. The recession.
Well, that's obvious. All right. Well, boom, boom. We gotta move on.
Like say Bam Rodriguez, he's not ducking anybody. He's okay.
All right. See ya, boom, boom. Take care.
Go.
Take it easy, boom boom.
Jimmy, go ahead.
But don't you think? Look at how Bam
Jimmy, go.
Rodriguez.
Jimmy,
That
finish
kid's
your
gonna be on
point.
pay-per-view soon. Sorry, Gonzalo. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say, just because Canelo makes 45 million and Triple G made 20, that's not their fault. You know, Canelo's gonna go and retire, and like when I retire, he's hurt. He's gonna take a year off most likely, and he said, "I don't fucking care. It's up to these guys, and whether they fight for peanuts, for a little bit of money or a lot, hey man, they gotta do something. Whether it's the depression and all of a sudden you weren't making what you made last year, you still got to do something, or what are you going to do? You're just going to quit boxing altogether and you're not going to fight? I kind of get it. You want to make money, but then your career's on the line. Some people got to gamble hard in order to stay relevant. And if not, they're going to, their skills are going to wander away. They got to stay sharp in order to be that good.
And my thing is this with Charlo. How could a guy at 160, I mean, who hasn't fought anybody, literally anybody at 160 pounds, struggle with a Montel, go inactive for a year, have all these personal problems, on the ugly side of 34 years old, suddenly going to go up to 168 and beat Canelo? I don't understand it. What are they seeing in this dude? What do they see this dude does well?
I'll tell
and when
you.
you talk about Montel, they give you reasons for that.
Jimmy,
but
I can't think he beat nobody because he did beat Dermachenko. But he did like regress. Like the dude's not improving. He hasn't fought. He's been laid off. There's no way his next fight can be Canelo and he have a chance in hell because he's too rusty, man. It's not happening.
That's exactly. I just don't understand why more people don't see that.
That's like the perfect recipe for disaster. Like, I'm not gonna take, let's say, Montiel. That was a bad night for him. Deveryachenko, that was like an excellent night for him. So he's not that bad. You know, he's kind of good. But the thing about him is that he doesn't fight that often because he's with the PVC and he's a counter puncher. Counter punchers, you need to like let your hands. Well, you don't let your hands go that often. So if you don't fight often to get your distance and your timing down, man, you're gonna be off. If you don't fight.
And he also if you go back and you look at his you know what I mean, if you look at his resume, more than half those guys at 160 were guys they dragged up from 154. And even like Kobarov, a lot of people thought he lost that fight. See with Charlo, Steve wrote a good piece, Steve Kim, and he talked about how Charlo, if you look at throughout the totality of his career, has lost half the rounds he's fought in, if not more. You know what I mean? Like an elite fighter will win, on average, 70% of his rounds. It's almost how you kind of consider. You look back at history, you take any elite fighter and you look at their fights. They win on average 70% of the rounds. Charlo doesn't come close. A lot of those fights, he was losing until he sparks the dude out. His power took the fight over.
And it's just
the thing is that he just doesn't.
Shoot.
Exactly.
Catch and shoot, get on, retreat. The younger brother does it too. You retreat, you run, catch and shoot, and until the other dude makes a mistake, pretty much based on your athleticism. They got athleticism and your ability to catch the other guy as he makes a mistake, basically counter. But if you're not sharp, you can't counter effectively because you're rusty. But yeah, they are athletic, and he does lose rounds.
Well,
that's
Jamel's
exactly what he depends on.
More aggressive in a forward fighter. I wouldn't say he's a counterer, but he's been doing that more often. But you realize that when he tried to counter, he started losing rounds and started losing. Like the first fight, Castano, we all know he won that fight or the draw at best. But the second fight, he's more aggressive and he, whooped that ass eventually. So.
Well, they don't take the initiative. The ones that look with Castano took the initiative. But since Castano was throwing volume, this guy was pretty much, I'm gonna wait for you to throw your three so I can land my one, but not necessarily like just when he threw his one, it was like retreat. You come forward, Castano. You're finished throwing punches. Now let me counter you as you get tired, and that's how he broke him down the second fight. First fight was like really close. You could be a counter puncher going forward too, I suppose. Yeah, you can. But these guys are like on the retrieving, and like that, man. You're only waiting for people to make mistakes. And we saw with Canelo Triple G, if your opponent, like Triple G, if he don't show up, I get it. You don't want to do overly more than what he does because then you're going to get fucking tired. If Triple G does 10%, well, I'm Canelo, I'm going to do 15. I'm not going to do 90% because you got to wait for what happens in the second round. But anyways, yeah, they sometimes have to take the initiative. I'm talking about these guys.
All right, guys,
The younger. All right.
just quickly gonna take a phone call because this guy has been waiting for a while. 585, you're on the air. 585. Yo,
Yes, how are you doing, Mr. BDA? This is Vince.
Yo, what's up, Vince? What's on your mind?
Yes, Mr. BDA.
No, Bucho. You know it's Bucho, man. You know it's Bucho.
Yes.
Bucho. You know it.
I'm sorry. My apologies, Mr. Bucho. I'm just very happy this weekend's results. Canelo Alvarez, a very, very dominant win over a Triple G. I would like to see Triple G retire, guys. He's been very great for the sport. Or else I would like to see him fight Charlo so he could get knocked out and sent to retirement finally, guys. And also, Mr. Shakur Stevenson, I'm very impressed by him, guys, and I feel like he's the next one, and the next big superstar, and he will give a Conseco a boxing lesson to remember. And also, Mr. Bucho Lomachenko, he needs to take notice because on Friday, Mr. Shakur Stevenson is really going to show him how it's done, guys, without getting hit. Thank you.
All right, take care, Vinny. Thanks for that phone call. I don't know, Golovkin retirement. We can talk about that next time. But Jimmy, you were going to say something. I cut you off.
Oh, no. I was just going to say the younger brother of the two of the Jamals, well, the 154, Mel, I believe he has more dog in him. He's willing to do what it takes. Listen, going into that first fight, I thought Castano was going to have enough to do things that he hadn't seen to win. That's why I picked him to win by decision. Going into the second fight, I completely flipped the script and I picked Charlo to win by knockout because of the two. I went with the kid was more athletic and I believed would implement the things necessary to knock him out, and he did. He showed he's the willing to stay in the pocket to exchange, but then not wait for something to come back, but to peel out. That was the big difference. So it ended up, he stopped him. So, but yeah, Charlo, he's already shown because what happens, he's already put himself through those fights, and he realizes he can do it. Big Maul hasn't had those confidence builders yet.
Well,
that's a lot to do with it, especially when someone's athletic.
The Devrchenko fight?
But then he comes back with Montiel.
Yeah, it's like up and down, ups and downs. He's not consistent. He's not consistent, in my opinion. We have a phone call. Let's take another phone call. 226, you're on the air, 226.
Are we going to do the pound for pound, too? Are we going to talk about that after?
Yeah, we can.
Hey, Jimmy, when I answer the call, pound for pound doesn't matter. This guy doesn't matter. Shakur, being the best guy in the world doesn't matter. You got to show me some respect over here, right?
How did I know it was you, Sam? I didn't hear the voice.
It's all right. I forgive you. You're a great guy, Jimmy.
Thank you.
You know what? Actually, Jimmy, for me standing up to myself like that, I think I deserve for you to slap me when you see me. I should have never stood up for myself. It's Jimmy.
Oh, jeez.
You don't stand up for yourself when it's Jimmy. You just take it. All right, what's going on,
Jimmy?
Fellas?
Go ahead.
Over here, yeah?
Slugger, go ahead.
Huh?
What else do you want to
what's
say?
The question, BD? What do we?
We're talking. What we're talking about? We're talking about the pound for pounders. We're talking about Charlo, because Boom Boom called in and he said that he wants to see Charlo against Canelo.
Well, I don't think that's really a bad fight. I mean, why not? To be honest, sorry, hold on. I'm throwing some stuff in the washer over here.
Yeah, I can hear it.
It's a busy life for Slugger. Okay, don't worry. I'm getting away from the washer. But this is what I was going to say. I noticed you guys were laughing at that. I know you made the little funny thingy, whatever. I don't know why you guys were laughing because to be honest. No, but hold on a sec. But hold on. Just hear me out. You guys can clown me all you want. I expected for Triple G to perform the way he did, even though I was actually rooting for Triple G. But Canelo performed horribly. I mean, I don't know what people thought they saw, but that wasn't really the Canelo I expected. Like, I thought it was going to be a bigger shutout than that, and it just, I don't know if it's the fact that Canelo's been a pro since he was 15, that it's like catching up onto him or something, but I don't know, man. I wasn't really too impressed, and I'll be honest, man. I think Charlo could probably beat him, man, on a decision.
Right. Slugger.
Just based off
Well,
what
Sam,
hold on.
you heard he had surgery on his hand, right?
Not only that, Jimmy.
After the fight.
Surgery, if you want, do you believe the surgery story? Well, he is having surgery, but do you think that was a factor?
Well, if he needs surgery, it must be bothering him enough that they put it off. But I'm sure it got more aggravated during the fight, and probably why he didn't finish up with the combination left to the body to the liver as much. Because again, when you punch the hip of the elbow, it hurts as much as punching someone on the top of the head. So I think that's why he was avoiding the finishing off with the left to the body.
And
and another factor was Triple G's power.
I was gonna say that.
I was gonna say, look like he's stepping into it.
Slugger. I want to say something. Slugger. You were expecting more from Canelo, but maybe you had low expectations for Golovkin, and that was your problem, right? That's what you made a mistake.
No, but I'll tell you what. No, but I'll tell you why, though. I'll tell you why. First of all, to me, it's very simple. If anybody ever talked to me, like, all trolling aside, my favorite fighters tend to be Triple G, Terrence Crawford, Lomachenko, and Usyk. That's usually my guys that I root for. But I didn't like the Derevchenko fight. When Triple G fought Derevchenko, I actually gave that fight to Derevchenko. Mm-hmm. So, he did pretty good the last fight against Nakatani. Sorry, not Nakatani. What's his name again? Who did he fight? The Japanese guy, Murata.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's how you pronounce it, right? Murata? Yeah. Fucking, he did really good against that. Obviously, he got the KO, but I mean, like, Triple G versus Bernard Hopkins, one of them with age like wine, and the other, his age is really showing. Mm-hmm. You see my point? So I based off the performances in the past couple of fights, I didn't expect much out of G, but I expected a lot out of Canelo, and I didn't get it, man. I thought he performed even worse than the Bivol fight. So
yes, well, Slugger, and I say this, and I say this wholeheartedly. Triple G punches during a fucking boxing match punches harder than Bivol. Bivol doesn't sit down on his punches like that. That's not his game. When Triple G turns his elbow over and he's really throwing in there with those right hands, they hurt. And they're thunderous. So those punches, he didn't lose his power. So that's what kept Canelo, I think, from jumping in. Canelo knew in his head he was winning the fight. It's probably like, I'm not going to put myself. He could have stepped in and, risk getting hurt more, but in his mind, probably not. And I don't want to. So you can question that if you like. But that's my thing on that. What are you saying, Gazelle?
You got to consider that Triple G's got an iron chin. At the end of the day, every round is scored 10-9. Whether you win it by a little or you win it by a lot, you're going to get 10 for the winner and 9 for the loser of the round. And if you ain't knocking Triple G out, Triple G's going to be there the next round. So if Triple G performed like shit, if he only showed up like 10% of like his capacity in the first round, well, Canelo was just going to do basically a little bit more to outshine him in that round and win the round. Because if you go for broke, you gotta think about the end game. You're gonna get tired and you're gonna lose stamina, and Triple G's gonna take your punches, and he's playing possum, and he's gonna take what you're gonna get, then he's gonna bring it on. And that's basically what Triple G did. Triple G only showed him a little bit, and then Canelo reacted and won the rounds. And then when Triple G lost 8 rounds, and Canelo had it in the bag. But Canelo at the same time was getting a little tired because the 8 rounds had gone by. Triple G stepped it up. Stepped it up. The first 8 rounds, he was blocking, catching punches, but then he stepped it up because his chin wasn't going to break no matter what. And that's why Triple G won 3 or 4 rounds out of the last, the conclusion of the fight. But that's what basically Canelo had to do. He could only show up as much as Triple G was going to give him. Because if you do more, you're going to get tired. And you ain't knocking out Triple G. That's what people are missing, not you guys.
Well, no, but here's the thing, exactly. Because he's 40 years old, he's supposed to get stopped now by a guy like Canelo, but I don't think anybody can stop Golovkin at 40 years old even. But Slugger, anything else?
No. Just thanks for having me on. And then, fuck, man, I guess hopefully the Spence and Crawford fight really comes through, and no bullshit. So, I'll probably talk to you guys then, because I don't know if you guys are going to be doing anything about Shakur this week or not. So.
On Friday, Open Lines Friday. We'll do a show on that. All right. Take care, Slugger.
Okay.
See ya.
Sounds good. All right, take care.
Yep.
And Bucho,
Yes.
you know what I want to say too? One thing about Triple G, I was a huge Triple G fan. I'll be the first to admit, once he got Canelo in the brain, I think he fucking jacked his career. Like, he waited on Canelo too long, and the last part of his career, I hate the way he handled it. I felt he got so turned off by sport. Remember Steve talked about it? Like, he just stopped talking to the reporters the same way. After that, after he got robbed, to him it was just about the money, and he did nothing to support his stardom. He didn't care about fighting regular or who he was fighting. He became a part of the system he hated, and I didn't like that. I didn't like the way he handled that. I just want to put that out there. I have that big detraction against the way he handled his last half of his career. Not the last half, going out. I don't like it at all.
Bitter?
Yeah, he was bitter. The last chapter, thank you, exactly.
The last chapter.
I don't like the way he handled it at all.
One thing I want to say. My prediction, Jimmy, I was kind of close. No, I was dead on. Yeah, I thought that Golovkin was gonna win by robbery, because if Golovkin would have showed a little bit more, he would have fucking got the fight for sure. Because he didn't do anything for the first 8 rounds. And
there's a man who knew how old he was. He knew he couldn't. He knew if he would have put it on, if you would have seen him fight the way he was in the last rounds, he wouldn't have had the wind. He wouldn't have had the energy in the later rounds, and then he would have risked getting stopped. Because no matter how tough your chin is, if you're gasping for air, you can get slept.
No, well, what I'm saying
about
is
Triple G or Canelo?
You're right. With the judges,
I'm saying the judges were playing compensation for the first 2 fights, because this was 2 rounds.
Yeah, they were
from a Triple G victory, not a tie, a victory. So I was like, I picked Golovkin by robbery.
Yeah, you're right. You came close.
If you would have made it a little tighter on the cards, they would have gave it to him.
All right.
Yeah, one thing
Yes.
I want to say, though, about the performance is that Triple G didn't look good, but one thing that he did fairly well was move his feet. He had pretty good footwork to avoid any confrontation. He fought very, not scared, but definitely defensively, which caused Canelo's success to be sort of limited. He still won the fight, clearly, but that's one thing that I haven't really heard anyone say. Triple G's footwork was still pretty decent in that fight. He was able to be defensively sound, even though he wasn't really winning any rounds.
All right.
Agreed.
And we were talking about... Jeez. We started talking about Canelo because of Boom Boom. And he's...
what's the topic?
You actually said pound for pound.
Yeah.
You asked Bucho, you said we're going to talk about pound for pound, and then that's when Boom Boom called. So that's why I mentioned pound for pound.
And I'm not blaming Boom
So
Boom.
who do you think should be pound?
Something
just
else,
saying.
Jimmy. So you think and Bucho and everybody, do you think also because Boom Boom mentioned the economy, but piracy is running rampant. People are stealing and fight all over, I believe, because it's just easier.
I think that's a bigger factor.
Like Bob Arum said.
Yeah, I think that's a way bigger factor than the economy. I mean, people are still buying stuff, I don't think we're in a recession, right? But it's not like a depression. We're not seeing the same effects as like 2009. And remember, when Pacquiao and Mayweather were selling million pay-per-view sales, right? Yeah. Back in 2009 in their prime, that was the height of the recession back then. So I think that's a bit over-exaggerated. I think it's way more having to do with the streaming than it does any of the economics. Certainly plays a factor, but I think it's overrated.
That's just too much to it, because we still have in this economy, we're still the highest rate right now. BMW rentals are service right now, so people will still buy the things they want. Think about
it.
But they're buying it on
Easy to
credit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
consumer
exactly
debt
it.
is
You,
not
you can
a.
buy the things you want, but then you're gonna take shortcuts because things are expensive at the store. So if you can steal the fight and you, like your little nephew, you can put it on like and you can get the stream without paying for it. Some people are probably doing it like that.
But also, let's look. Let's look. I mean, we're looking at pay-per-views, but we should also look at who was fighting, right? And Floyd and Pacquiao, they, in a way, transcended the sport of boxing. Right now, we don't have boxers that transcend. Maybe Canelo, but other than that, I mean, Spence, for example, he hasn't transcended the sport of boxing. He's not on Floyd's level. He's not on Pacquiao's level. So
I'm just comparing Canelo. I'm talking about
Canelo.
the clear top pay-per-view dogs. Canelo is that man. There's no one even really close. You can say AJ in the UK, but that's just the UK. When it comes to US pay-per-views, Canelo is the man.
Yeah,
that's
that's a good comparison.
When it comes to pay-per-view king, is Canelo. No one can compete.
There's no other.
Yeah, and Canelo's he's a world star. He's a world pay-per-view star because actually in the zone he sold over 1 million worldwide. I know it's prorated dependent upon the country, but he sold actually 1 million. But the difference why you could say that he's worldwide because if other fighters with other companies with other like the PPC, they don't do business over there. But anyways, there's some fighters that are with the zone that they obviously they could sell in other countries, but they probably wouldn't because they're not as recognizable as Canelo. Canelo will sell in Mexico and in different other countries in Latin America and even in Europe. But not a lot of people not a lot of other fighters will sell like him. But worldwide, he did over 1 million.
You know what I think is funny is
a little English, a little better, and get connected with his Irish side. That bank over there, man. That Katie Taylor money.
Good point.
What I think is funny is you go on any Twitter thread that with Eddie Hearn and Dan Raphael going on and on in these threads about the numbers, and in every thread there's always some dude who gives a shit about pay-per-view numbers. What does it matter? And it's like, well, how could you say that, dude? I mean, yeah, you might not like that part of it, but it matters tremendously. It matters on who's the A side. Sometimes even a vote for the Hall of Fame is dependent upon. When they talk about popularity, that's a criteria. How big of a fighter was he? You know what I mean? How did he affect the masses and whatnot? Like a lot of Arturo Gotti got in because of that, because of how people thought of him and his impact. So the pay-per-view numbers, how many they move, is tremendously important in boxing. So it just always cracks me up when you hear people, oh, what does it matter? Who cares? Well, you might not care about that aspect of the game, but it has a tremendous factor. All right, I'm done.
In the chat,
Somebody's asking if the fight was free in Mexico.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think it's closed circuit.
Yeah.
You have to pay like $5 or $10 to get in, and the people that's playing the fight, they're gonna pay a lot of money to get it on their in their establishment. And if you have the zone, you can also purchase it through the zone. If it's free, it's like on TV Azteca, and it's like an hour or two after the fight takes place.
Yeah,
that's my experience with that.
Yeah, it's delayed. If you watch it on network television over there, it's delayed. LDBC's most wanted. Thank you for your contribution. He says PBC vale verga. That is all. He doesn't like the PBC. He says shit, basically. Too many pay-per-views, people. We have too many pay-per-views. If we have Spence Crawford this year, November, whatever, we also have Wilder on pay-per-view. So that's 2 pay-per-views, man. Like, and we had Andy Ruiz and Ortiz like a few weeks ago. Jesus Christ! Like, come on.
Speaking of Wild. I'm sorry, Boo.
My bad. You want to go?
Oh no! Finish what you're saying, dude. I'll jump in out there.
October's gonna be all packed to hell for the 15th. We got Savannah versus Shields, the Wilder versus Robert, and we have the Snooze Fest, Haney versus Cambosa 2. But I don't know why Savannah and them, even though I know you have to have certain dates, why would you go compete with that type of date? But I think it's in UK, so it might be like at 1:30. But the Wilder over the Cambosa, it's not going to happen. But if anybody watched that shit over the Wilder fight, even though it's just a return, you guys might think it's not that much. I think no one's going to watch that Haiti fight. I think I'm going to watch that after the Wilder fight and give me some good sleep.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to. Did you guys see the stuff Shelley Finkel came out and said?
No.
Basically, sliced up the LDBC narrative that, remember, for the longest time, they would say, "Oh no, he didn't get a real offer from Joshua, and he turned down the money, and yada yada yada." Remember when they called Shelly Finkel? Supposedly, well, they made Joshua an offer for $50 million, but he only had 24 hours to say yes or no. And Eddie Hearn, the whole thing was Eddie Hearn said, "Show me proof of funds. Show me proof of funds," and they wouldn't. He wouldn't even call him back.
Mhm.
This is why they knew there was no $50 million without Joshua's name. And they wanted to prove a point. You don't have the 50. You can offer us 50. You can even cut us a check. Doesn't mean it's going to. But once you have Joshua's name, then you can generate the money. And they couldn't. That's the reason nobody would have dealt with that 24 hours. And Finkel came out and admitted all that. Admitted he has ducked. Not why I didn't say Wilder's ducked AJ, but Finkel himself has admitted in a recent interview last week that yes, he never returned any of the offers, never returned his call, including recently when Hearn went out and said, "Listen, we just sent an offer to Wilder," and but he said, "Well, we didn't. I talked about it with Al Heyman and Wilder, and we said, well, we're focusing on Helenius right now. Don't even bother." Like, wait a minute, why? So you mean to tell me that you can't? Well, your guy's getting in, you can't iron out some things now. He's going to beat Helenius, so you can't iron out the works now. The fact that he couldn't even call him and say that, I ignored him because Al and I and Deontay came to the realization, that we should just focus on this. So he admitted all those times, and Hearn said, "I've made offers, I never hear anything back," and all those channels were saying that never happened, blah blah blah. Finkel came out and blew up their spots and said that yes, he never returned any of the calls. I just thought that was fascinating. Also, he never said anything about the cheating. So none of his people,
no.
JD's, Finkel, none of them will talk about that cheating, give it any legs at all. And you got Wilder still saying he was cheated, still saying it. It's just amazing.
That's Shelly Finkel right there on the TV, on the picture.
Yeah,
he looks like Brain from Pinky and the Brain. Jesus fucking
he wants to conquer the world with that fucking brain. Look at that.
And then Johnson Wilder fight Pinky. Yeah, they look like maniacs.
But you guys want to know what's real sad that PBC was first starting off. It actually was giving HBO a lot of issues. The viewership, because it couldn't compete with free TV. You can go on Fox and watch. They had all the Friday night fights, Thursday fights, Monday fights. It couldn't compete because the viewership was doing real good, and that's why PBC had such name to get all this money from Fox and Showtime, scam them. Because when they did start off, their viewership was great. They had the Thurman was it Thurman versus Danny Garcia, or was it who did he fight? Or Sean Porter? It did like 1.25. Yeah, Sean Porter.
Porter was after Garcia. The first time it was 2.5 years after the PBC started. It did 1.5 million viewers.
The average viewership on just the Friday night fights when they had the up and comers coming, it did around about 500 to 600,000 views, and that was pretty good. So that's why they have all this weight. People are like, man, why they Fox giving the money at Showtime? Well, because when they started off, they were showing progress, they were showing numbers. They could put advertising on it. But I think after the next year, when this deal actually completely crashes out, bro, it's gonna be real bad for them.
Well, in the beginning, the first 3 years of the PBC, when they had TV deals with TNT, NBC, a bunch of would have now changed to become Paramount, whatever. But NBC, CBS, they were doing all these shows. But what they were doing, they were buying the TV slots, meaning they had a supply. They had to also go out and get the advertisement. So a lot of times you would see during the BBC shows, 3/4 of the way through, they would say, "We're going to be commercial. We're going to show fans, we're going commercial free just for you for the rest of the show." So basically, you couldn't sell any more fucking commercial space. So it didn't cost any of these networks. That was the deal. He went in and he put up the money. Was his plan. I'm going to put on a product that is so amazing that these networks, who are of course skeptical, see what the numbers we did that are going to be so great. They're going to go off on their own and say, okay, give me 5 shows, give me 10 shows. Here was the problem. Not one of the networks he did business with offered to buy any, because the numbers weren't good enough to move the needle. So what happened was he struck a exclusivity deal with Fox, and he was already in Showtime under the cable networks. But Fox, they got $50 million, and they let them down so much that they pulled back on the 4th year. There was supposed to be fights right now on Fox. What's that?
This is before, right, not after, because I do those numbers, dude. They had really numbers. Like,
You're breaking up, man. Yo, logical, man.
3 to 4 million views in that month. They would pass that up.
All right, logical. You're kind of breaking up, man. Fix your.
I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah,
no, I was saying that I'm surprised that it wasn't enough, offers, because I was surprised that they would pass up 2 to 5 million views just in that month off fights, because their viewership was doing very well. That's why I started watching fights, because I saw the fights there and a lot of people were watching it. It was actually pretty popular. So I'm surprised that they hear it, that they never had a lot of offers. Views were up there. It was good viewership.
But here's the thing, right? Even at 1.5 million on a Saturday night prime time, that's excellent for boxing. But overall, it finished last in the big 4. Yeah. Fox, ABC, CBS, NBC, the 4 major networks, free TV networks. It finished in last place in viewership in the key demographic, 18 to 49. It would consistently finish last. So they don't really even look at the numbers. They want to know where you land in key demographics, and they just didn't move enough of a needle. And that was Heyman's fault, because as you said, we talked about, he had more than enough money and more than enough fighters. He could have made, like Dana White talked about, he says, if I had those fighters and that budget, he should have made insane fights. You know what I mean? He should have had NBC and those guys saying, yeah, listen, sign me down for 10, sign me down for 5, if it was done right. But at the end, I think Heyman only cared about, he was getting his 15%. So he would match fighters with no geographical relevance to the location. Weirdest thing, take a guy from Texas and a guy from Florida, and I'm fighting at Barclays. Like, why would you sign an inclusivity deal with the Barclays Center in New York City when you have fighters fighting from all over the world, country? When everybody knows in boxing, to build your fighter, you have to start regionally. You build him in his own home area, and then you build him outwards. That's almost a given how you have to do it. And because he went against the orthodoxy and on everything, it just didn't build up any kind of. And again, the Barclays, if you're from New York, it's not an easy place to go to. You know what I mean? It's not like Madison Square Garden in Manhattan. It's kind of a pain in the ass. So that was one of the reasons. There was no geographical relevance to the fighters, and these fights weren't meant to go anywhere. He wasn't building anything up to a crescendo. And if there's no formula for that, that was his problem.
Well, Jim, what I can say too, back in the day, they had, I think, people were more into creativity. Today you can throw out anything out there. You have Netflix, all these streaming systems. Because now, like Jimmy, if you look up yourself right now, most of these streaming systems want more streamers and views, and they're buying contracts with multi-million contracts for just 400,000 views. So I guess.
All right, you're breaking up, man. Jesus, all right. What's the thing? Yeah, he's breaking up. Logical, man, you're breaking up, man. Fix your connection.
Yeah, he left the group. Yeah.
All right, guys, let's read some super chats here, and then we're gonna take some phone calls. Where are the? Fuck, I'm getting all confused now. All right. Super chat. I am your leader. Thank you for your contribution. He says, how does Deontay Wilder even get medically cleared to fight? It's obvious he has severe brain damage. Just listen to him talk. That's an interesting question. I don't know, man. Well, you know how it works in boxing. You can get a pass. You just pay a few doctors and you're ready to fight. I'm a PvP. Thank you for your contribution. He says, Canelo didn't need to use another ethnicity holiday or mention a fake 0 to sell pay-per-views. Genuine fans want to see a war and not Dancing with the Stars. All right, thank you for your contribution. And yeah, I mean, Canelo fights differently. He's not. I mean, he's more aggressive. Definitely more aggressive than Floyd Mayweather. Different fan base, different appeal for sure. But good comment. Yes.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of people are saying, why wasn't he aggressive like he was? Even with Pavel, he seemed to be more aggressive away with Plant. And it's just kind of a prime example. See the difference when you throw pity-patter punches at Canelo? He's going to come at you a lot more ugly. He's going to come at you a lot more vicious. He didn't do that with Triple G because he was rocked. Remember in the 10th round, Triple G rocked him with that left hook. Like his left knee went, woo! Like that kid cracks. Triple G cracks. And he's gone in against him 3 fucking times. And you got to give him credit for that. So I just want to say he might be slower even a little bald LG, but he still punches hard enough that he kept Canelo honest. Canelo didn't want to just charge in.
Yeah, and what you said right now. Just let's not pretend, but I believe you. I just have to go back and watch it. Just for the sake of what you said, he got rocked. The knee slipped. If he would have thrown more punches in the beginning, while all the while he's still winning the rounds. Must we remember, he's still winning them 10-9. But if he would have gotten more balls to the wall, maybe in that 10th round, he gets hit the same and he's more tired. Then not only he probably lost the round, he probably gets hurt. He gets hurt. So therefore, it's got to be a strategical kind of thing, right, Jimmy?
Yes, Gonzalo. 100%.
All right, guys. Sorry to cut you off, but I need to take the phone calls. I forgot about the phone calls, man. These guys have been waiting for a long time, man. 731, you're on the air. 731.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hey, man, look, I'm gonna make this short and brief, man. The only person that deserves to be on pay-per-view that's an active boxer, in my opinion, is Canelo. In my opinion, he's the only active boxer that actually deserves to be on pay-per-view every time he fights. Like, this Wilder and Helenius fight, that's terrible, man. That shouldn't be on pay-per-view. That should just be on regular TV, man. To me, that's one of the reasons why I think boxing is killing itself. And I understand they say these fights, people make excuses and say these fights need to be on pay-per-view because to help pay the fighters. But, man, dude, either these guys are overpaid or they just don't got the money to do it, man. Like
that's the second thing right there, boss. They don't have the money. The PBC doesn't have the funds, so they're expecting fans to pay for it. That's what it comes down to. Remember, Heyman's not a promoter. He doesn't put up his own money. So if there's no money allocated, he has to get the money somewhere, so he puts it on pay-per-view and has the fans finance it.
Yeah. Well, at least his fans actually show up, like, to see Canelo's fights, man. I'll say I'm not his biggest fan or anything, but I'm just saying, like, in my opinion, he's the only person that should be on there, unless you're going to put Jake Paul in there or something, too. But he's trash. But, man, honestly, man, none of these other guys
I agree.
Time,
Yeah, I agree. Pay-per-view should be exclusive to certain boxers and special events when you have superstars. It's not, you don't just throw around pay-per-views here and there. You know what I mean? Exactly. Like Helenius against Helenius Wilder is not a pay-per-view fight, all right? It's an interesting fight because Wilder's making a comeback, but it's not a fucking pay-per-view.
Yeah, like how they did the Ortiz and what's the other guy's name?
Ruiz.
Barrios Durbin?
No.
Barrios.
Yeah,
Ortiz.
Ruiz too.
Yeah. Not pay-per-view, bro. Oh, my God. I mean, on TV, really easy deal. I think around maybe 900,000 to $1 million, maybe. I believe so. But that like a lot of fans that want that. Mexican fans, Cuban fans, free TV, they did well.
Arriola was pay-per-view too. Mario Barrios.
Anyways,
Tank, all those fights.
Caller, anything else?
Yeah. Oh man, that's all I want to say. I'm making sure and brief, man. None of these guys deserve it. Even Spence, he don't deserve it either. But yeah, that's all I had to say, man.
Good call, man. Call back again next time. Take care.
All right, man.
Yeah, good call.
All right, let's take another phone call. 917, you're on the air.
Hello, BDA, Bucho, Jimmy, everybody. It's B-Rock again. Second time calling in
buddy?
On my long commute. And what are you guys talking about? Pound for pound? You pound for pound?
Yeah, sure, man. We can talk about that.
I quite haven't heard anyway. He's probably like in my top three for sure in Usyk, but as far as like a third person, I really can't give it to the guys that haven't fought in over a year. I just don't think they deserve that shot. And quite honestly, like, the new generation of boxers coming up, that's what I pay pay-per-view for. Like the Xander Zayas, I'm a big fan of. Boots Ennis, like these are the guys that are like the next generation. And I hope that they get to fight each other because right now, I mean, the Spence Crawford thing, it should have happened when they confronted each other back with Bob Arum like 3-4 years ago. I feel like that's when they were in their prime, and that's when it was at its peak, and everyone was just like raving about this fight. But right now, none of them have fought. It's strictly a cash grab before they retire. And like Boom Boom was talking about, like, things are tight today, man. Like, my money, I want a product, I'm going to pay for it. The Ruiz, all those fights that have been on pay-per-view, it's just complete garbage. I won't waste my time with it. But there's so many amazing prospects out there. And that guy, in a way, I just love the way he fights. It reminds me of Manny Pacquiao. I mean, the first time I saw Manny Pacquiao fight was against, he was a 31 underdog fighting against Ledwaba. And I remember just saying, like, who's this guy? And just having him wipe the floor and he created a name for himself. Like, that's the boxing I like, is when they take these challenges and just wipe the floor with total underdog. And then that's how stars are born. And today it's just not like that. It's more of a marketing hype and all that stuff. And that's what's killing boxing. But in order to get my $85, I got to see the best fight the best. And I don't care how many belts they've had. The Bivol versus Ramirez fight is going to be fantastic. I'm curious to see what happens with that. Even if Canelo does go and fights Bivol, he's going to lose 30 times out of 30 times. It's just the style. It's a nightmare for Canelo. But, as far as Canelo Alvarez goes, I really don't know where he goes from here. I feel like Charlo hasn't done anything. I can't see him beating Canelo. He has never gone through tough adversity. I haven't seen that side of him, so I'd like to see more of that. But as far as Canelo goes, I really don't know who's up next, who I'd like to see him fight. I mean, can any of you guys chime in on that? Because I felt as much as I don't like him,
that's the one everybody's calling
pretty
for.
much proved his ranks.
Yeah, but the thing with that, he's taking a year off, and he's probably going to take a tune-up when he comes back. And Benavidez, he's going to outgrow his frame. Well, he's going to gain weight because he's, 23, 24? He's a big kid. Well, he was a fat kid when he was little. By the time he's 27, 26, he's probably going to have to move up to light heavy. He's probably going to end up in cruiserweight, to be honest. But if he doesn't, it's going to hurt his stamina in the latter rounds, in my opinion. He can get away with it now, but how much longer?
Yeah, so who's that left with Canelo? Who does that leave with him?
Right, Charlo.
That's the question.
Charlo's going to grow out 60, move to 68.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Charlo going to waste time.
Anyway,
like, sit there and just lottery tickets.
I mean, for what he did to Nonito Donaire, he just wrecked them that second fight.
Yeah. Logical, man, what you going to say?
Oh, no, I was saying Jamal's a waste of time. The dude is just going to, sit at 168, waiting for Canelo so he can pay off his house, and child support, what the fuck he got to pay. The dude is going broke. His brother is still making. His brother's the one paying most of the bills, in case you guys ain't seen, because he's making the fights, getting these paychecks. Jamal's going through a lot of stress, a lot of things going on. I think he's not going to fight no one else until Canelo, so he can have a big check and get out of here.
Well, that's the thing. That's the same thing with Benavidez. He's paying everything. The dad's gym. Jose Benavidez can't fight any longer. But they're hurting themselves. Well, not Charlo, but him and Andrade, for talking a lot. They're not getting the fights. Just watch. That's my opinion.
Jimmy.
I don't think that's an opinion, Gonzalo. I think that's facts right there. They're definitely hurting themselves.
What's that, Pucho?
I mean, they have to prove a name. They have to prove themselves and just fight the best competition. But again, it's the promoters and all the marketing and the money that's, not making this fight happen when it should be happening.
All right, caller. Thanks for calling in. Call back again next time, all right?
Thanks, guys. Great job, as always.
Right. See ya.
Good night.
Good call. I like that call, man. It makes sense. And asking a lot of good questions here.
Good call.
Questions that we've been asking, also for a long time here with Canelo. What's the future? And, and by the way, somebody mentioned Canelo. He wrote in a comment, okay, if Canelo managed to fight Rocky Fielding and Yildirim and Khan, why can't he fight Charlo? And I'm not saying he shouldn't fight Charlo. I mean, I'm just saying I don't think he has a chance. And I would like to know why people think he can beat Canelo. That's all. I'm not saying I don't want to see the fight. Actually, I want to see the fight.
And he didn't. We got to say it again because it keeps every time it mentions. I'll say it. Yildirim was a mandatory. He had no choice. He had to fight Yildirim.
Well, he
didn't
could
pick him. He had
he could
to.
have dropped the belt or something. I mean, he doesn't need the belts.
Yeah, exactly. That was what he wanted to do because that was his one thing. Remember?
Oh
He's
yeah,
never
yeah,
been
yeah,
a
yeah. Unify.
So
You're
in
right.
order to do that, remember, because at the time he had 3 belts.
Yeah.
To get that 4th one, he had to fight Yildirim. So he did what he had to do at the
Jimmy,
time. But it's amazing how he gets fucking slaughtered for taking on a mandatory.
He fought how many times that year?
4 in a calendar year.
So to me, it doesn't like if you're pulling off a Julio Cesar Chavez, where he's fighting some bomb in Mexico or whatever, and then fighting a good fight, and he's taking some fights in between. That's fine, as long as you fight multiple times a year, then you can sneak in one of those type of fights, like a Yildirim fight. I don't care.
Really, it wasn't like Yildirim was the only fight he had that year. He also fought 3 undefeated world champions around him.
It's not like, yeah, exactly. He waited another half a year or more for his next fight,
It's just amazing. When it comes down to this, people don't hold the fighters they like anywhere near the same standard they hold the fighters they don't like to. It's just a crazy dynamic.
Hey guys, let me just say this real quick. David Benavidez is holding himself back because isn't he like one of the highest rated guys to get viewership during his fights? So can he just demand like, hey, if I don't get rid of my next contract to fight Jamal, Plant, or any of these top guys, I can't sign with you back with PBC. If he really want to get things working, he need to do that, bro, instead of wasting time. And I think they'll go to his demands because the dude is going to be a future star, man. The dude does better sales tickets than Jamal and Plant. So they need to make that shit happen.
Well, logical man, this is actually kind of what happened with this. This is the problem I have. I'm kind of trying to figure out the dynamic here. He goes and remember 2018, he left the PBC. He thought his contract was up, right, with Sam. All right, no, he thought his contract was up with the PBC. Here's the problem. He thought he was managed by Sam Leukowitz, which he is. He didn't know that meant he was exclusively only going to fight through Heyman, meaning that his guy is a Heyman shill, and he's basically just a beard for Heyman because Heyman doesn't have a promoter's license where his guy does. So when he was still even though he signed a contract to be with Sam Leukowitz through 2021, he thought his contract with the PBC and Al Heyman was over. He signed, got a $250,000 signing bonus with Top Rank. Next, Leukowitz found out, freaked out, said a bunch of public things, and took him to court. The next time they were pitching together, he was pissed. Okay, so I'm saying to myself, that's good. You left the PBC because he saw the writing on the wall. He saw they weren't making these fights. So he goes, all right, so you credit him for that. He went to Top Rank, so he shows he's trying to get away from that bullshit. What I don't like then is now he's with the PBC. You think he'd be riding that contract out, which ended in 2021, supposedly. But next thing you know, his father's on the Vox and Voice saying, oh, we're good with Al Heyman. We're good. Oh, we're going to be with him till the day he retires. Wait a minute, what is it? Are you not happy with the PBC, or you think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread? Because your father's on the Boxing Voice saying you're going to be with him to the end of fucking you retire. Well, if that's the case, then you're co-signing the horrible way you've been fucking promoted, the fucking no hope as you've been fighting. You know what I'm saying? So there's kind of a dilemma for me right now with that. I don't know where to lay on that.
I mean, I know the promotional companies always bring in some drama, some politics. And sometimes we can't get the fights that we want. But when it comes to the PBC, it seems like it's on another level, right? Than the amount of complaints we have.
Yep, and they have non-disclosure. They all sign it. They can't publicly say anything. Remember, Chris Colbert came out, was bashing Wilder, saying fucking, oh, come on, man, fucking loaded gloves. They were laughing at him at the gym with Danny Garcia. It went viral. Next thing you know, they did a retraction the next day. You haven't heard another word out of Chris Colbert. A kid as loud as he was, even prior to his loss, the talkative as he was, as quotable as he was, nothing. Because he got his pee-pee slapped from Al Heyman. He got smacked. Probably threatened to be sued. They've all done it. Broner's the only one knucklehead enough to constantly going out. And I think Broner, you'll be lucky to ever see him fight again. He pulled out of that fight was kind of a fuck you to Al Heyman. That fight he recently pulled out of.
Well, I heard he pulled out because he was bitching about, why are we doing a computer interview and not a real stance? Well, because we ain't got the money, ass wife. So he pulled out. He got pissed off.
Let's see.
And even if you look at his numbers, even if his pay-per-view against against Pacquiao it wasn't that good. It didn't do that good. And then and then he was on, wasn't he on another, was it another pay-per-view? But just the viewer numbers on Showtime on his last Showtime fight were horrible. And I think so they treated him as such. They said, no, dude, you're not warranting a press conference. This fight's not worth a press conference. You're going to do it by Zoom just to save the cut. And he was offended by that.
You know what's crazy, though? They were considering signing Carissa Shields over Broner because she brought in more viewership than him, and that's a fact. Fucking crazy. But she went, what they call it when you just out there. She's an agent, something like that. Something you just open to all people, to viewers. That's why she don't get certain fights. A free agent, my bad, guys. Free agent.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Well, listen, I hate talking about this shit, but when it comes to David Benavidez, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I don't know what deal he has with the PBC, how that fucking works. All I know is that I want to see Canelo against David Benavidez, and that fight has to happen because, to be in all honesty, I don't know where Canelo goes from here. I mean, we don't want to see him fight Bivol again. I don't. Most people don't.
Well, what's Morrell? Morrell's at 168, right? Is he at 160?
He's 168, 168, but
yeah, he's got to be ranked high. There's got to be guys coming along, but I would imagine it's Benavidez. Here's the problem: Canelo wants to fight in England. I believe he wants his next big fight at the UK at the O2 Arena.
John Ryder.
Yes. So if he tries to if he says Benavidez, here's the problem. Eddie Hearn won't stop one of his fighters from going across the promotion. He won't stop any of his big guys. He'll let them go if there's big money there to be made. PBC doesn't. Does anybody think fucking Al Heyman's going to allow Benavidez to go fight on the zone at London?
No.
So it's exclusive. And so it comes down to this. You want Benavidez, it has to be on the PBC platform, and that burns fucking Canelo's ass. I have nothing but just my own thing with that. He hates being told, because in his mind, I'm the face of boxing. You're not going to tell me that I have to sign a PBC contract or be under the PBC umbrella to fight a PBC fighter. Make the fight. And see, I won't, because then Al won't get 15% of his cut. So if he gets $40 million, Al gets 15% of that 40.
Jimmy, he fought Caleb Plant. How did that work? What happened there?
Well, it was a one-fight deal with PBC.
Can he do that again?
They tried to get him for a 3-fight deal, but he wouldn't do it.
Right. So
he took the money and ran.
Can he do that again?
This is what I think, man. This is what should happen. Since Canelo's injured and most likely, let's say he's retired for a year, who's gonna fight Canelo? Well, let them fight each other, and whoever wins fights Canelo. Whether it's Plant, if he beats Benavidez, or if Charlo beats Plant, or if Charlo beats the other guy, who was I mentioning, Benavidez. Yeah, man, the winners. That's what he said. No, I'll fight the winner.
Yeah.
That's to be determined.
I'm telling you right now,
it's who fucking wins and deserves to fight him.
That's facts. And he gonna have to fight him because, dude, the fans are gonna go crazy. I don't care how much someone is a fanboy of Canelo or whatever. If Jamal beats Benavidez, or Benavidez beats Jamal, or Plant beats whatever the hell happens, he's got to make that fight happen.
90 seconds.
Huge debate.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean Demetrius Andre. My bad. He's out of.
Yeah, exactly.
And if he beats one of those guys, because that guy got power.
Listen, Al Heyman knows he has something that the people want. He has a value. He has something that has value, which is Benavidez. And maybe Charlo. But for now, it looks like it's Benavidez. Everybody wants to see this fight, Canelo Benavidez. So that's going to be, making negotiations more difficult.
Will that be still true a year from now? Because Benavidez got to fight. If he wins, yeah, for certain.
Good point.
But if he loses...
Yeah. So what if you're Al Heyman? What the fuck do you do with Benavidez? Do you match him up against easy opposition and you just wait for that Canelo fight?
That's what he's been doing.
Oh my god.
They don't want to match him up against other guys because they want to double dip. They want to continue having Charlo as a star. I mean, Plant, forget about it. He already lost, but still, they should fight each other. Mm-hmm. But if they fight each other, they kind of cancel each other out. They want to they want to maintain all these dudes' careers relevant at the same time, simultaneously.
But Gonzalo, you would think that, right? But the Plant fight just fell apart. You would think, okay, Plant, he already lost. What's the difference? They tried to make that fight back in March. The Plant Benavidez, it fell apart. They couldn't get it across the line. It's like, Jesus Christ, you guys, like every Morel couldn't get it across the line. Then it was in deep, talks with Plant. Like they were close to signing, fell apart, couldn't get it across the line. It comes down to this. I heard that Sam, I'm going to butcher his name, whatever. I call him Son of Sam Berkowitz, but he asks ridiculous money. Remember, he wanted $7 million to start. That was the starting point to fight Plant. $7 million for his fighter. That's absurd.
What's that?
David Benavidez's manager is on tape saying to fight Plant or Andrade, he wants the plot. He starts at $7 million, and we'll go from there.
These dudes.
Then you wonder why these fights aren't being made. So
I'm telling you, man, Jimmy, this is the worst promotional company of all time. This is the worst.
More than double what it should be.
This is the worst promotional company of all time. I've never had so many complaints for a company like that. They can't even make these in-house fights.
And in such a bad, boxing, their payouts are crazy, and still compared to even other boxers, it's insane.
Yeah, exactly.
What they're asking for, they're already overpaid, and then they're just asking for even more. It's crazy.
You gotta think about this, you guys. These guys are fighting lawn cutters and making money, more money than we'll see in probably like 5 years or so, bro. These guys are making billions off of fighting nobody. So, dude, they're going to be overpaid because just for them to fight a real threat, once they lose their, the zero, I think the zero is not a big compensator. It's just about who they're fighting and what's their competition. So if you want to fight somebody big, well, I just made $1 billion fighting Montiel or whatever. You got to pay me like 5 or 6 for this risk,
Yeah.
So that's bad. That's a bad thing.
Here's the problem. By doing that, they ends up costing them money. They end up losing money in the long run because they end up missing out on all these fights. Because I'm not, an accountant, but I know $100 is better than no dollars. You know what I'm saying? So you keep writing himself out of these fights, and then he takes the $750,000 payday to beat up or $1 million to beat up Lemieux. Instead of just taking $4 million to fight Plant. He's just his guy, Berkowitz, is pricing him out of these fights.
And if he adds some of these fights, later down the road, if he's beating all of them, he can get bigger checks because he's got the hype to increase all the money.
Exactly. He's building his own legacy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's creating a demand. When you go out and you beat people, the fans are going to be yelling, Canelo, we want Canelo. You know what I mean? And Canelo will be like, remember, that's his thing. It's like this. Canelo's like, he could literally take a push broom and put it in a chair next to him and say, what's the difference, David, between you and that fucking stiff bristle push broom when it comes to promotional worth? Nothing. This whole promotion is on my shoulders. Literally 97% of it is on my shoulders. So go out and build something. Get a reputation. Show me that people are willing to turn out and pay to see you, so it doesn't have to be how much of my money do I want to give this kid? Because no matter who I fight, I'm going to get X amount of fans there. Let's see right now for instance, if his next fight, David Benavidez, is against the similar competition in fighting, put it on a pay-per-view. And when that thing doesn't even do 200,000, Canelo say, see? I'm sick of carrying promotions. See what happens when he fights someone like Triple G or Bivell, someone who's, at least Bivell, he took minimum money, only $2 million. That's how he wanted to fight, because he wanted to fight that bad. But guys who demand a ton of money, it's because it's the compensator for a loss. Doesn't seem confident to me. If you're confident about your ability to take whatever. Do you ever hear Lomachenko complain about money? Ever once? Have you ever heard of a fucking fight being held up because he wants more money? He's like, I'll take this money now because it's an investment in my own future. I'm investing in myself as a product because it's short of money on this end, but in the long run, I'll be getting more money.
Yeah,
and that's just not happening over there.
Yeah, and he's also not an idiot that'll squander his money. He knows to invest it because the dude's just an intelligent man. A lot of these guys, I think, they want these big checks, but then look at fucking Broner. He's definitely gotten like multi-million, way more than Loma, but he's having way more money issues for sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, man. It's just it's all over the place when it comes to these guys, man. It really
He was in court. He was in court telling a judge that he was a broke bum.
Yeah.
All right, Jimmy. Somebody told me, to mention the Tank Davis trial. What do you guys know what happened?
What trial?
Which?
Wait, was it Tank Davis? Wait, let me check. I sent you the link, Jimmy, on Twitter. Fuck, but I didn't read it.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, forget it.
Was it the trial about the car accident? Because he got that thing buried.
Not sure.
See, he got off pretty good on that one. Not surprising though. The Baltimore fucking DA didn't really fucking,
Oh yeah, the hit and run. Yeah.
Yeah. They couldn't prove he was driving, all kinds of bullshit. But it's in a community that's, it's the same. I mean, look it's that type of DA shit where they just, the criminals are the fucking ones they're looking out for.
Wow, we've come to that point, Jimmy.
Well, I mean, New York City, a guy was getting punched in the face. So granted, yes, his kids were punching him. So yes, the dude had a right to defend himself. But he turns out, goes over to his bag, takes out a fucking hatchet, and starts smashing fucking McDonald's apart. People are like, holy shit, he's going up to people, rearing back with the hatchet. You're thinking at any moment he's going to split these dudes' heads open, right? So just in that in itself should have been, like, it. Back in my day, I would have been, if that was me, I'd have been facing 5 to 7 years easily. They didn't even give him a cash bail. He was out in the streets in 4 hours doing an interview, walking down the street saying, I think I kept myself in composure. I mean, he smashed McDonald's apart with a hatchet, and he didn't have a bail. They released him on his own recognizance. So when you start doing that in these fucking areas, yeah, then they wonder why the fucking society's crumbling.
True.
Wow.
Very true.
That's sad.
Jimmy, I need you on my channel.
It's lawlessness. There's no law.
There is no law, exactly.
The Wild West.
I wouldn't even say that because there is law for some people. It's anarcho tyranny. That's what it is.
It's an echo. They're doing the equity agenda. It's all pulled from self-loathing white liberals.
There's laws.
And they hurt the people who stand up attacks.
Average person. There's laws for the average person, and then there's no laws for criminals and elites. That's how. That's what anarcho tyranny is. If the people who are actually like lawful, right, they'll get the full force of the fucking the whole book thrown at them for any minor thing. But these career criminals, they'll be just a slap on the wrist, if even that. You see all these gruesome crimes. I know this is a bit political, but you see all these gruesome criminals. And then you'll hear their nasty ass crime, and then you look through the fucking article and it says, "Oh, he's had like 20 different fucking crimes." Why is this dude out?
Because it's the equity agenda. But the thing is, these self-loathing white liberals thinking they're helping black people, they're only hurting them because they're not putting these kids in criminal. Who do you think these kids victimize? They're not victimizing self-loathing white liberal elites. They're victimizing other black people. So they're not hurting people and they're helping.
All right, guys, we're getting into a second renaissance.
Yeah,
I know we are.
We're getting into a second renaissance topic here. But yeah,
Jimmy, you should hop on Second Renaissance more. You're never on there, man, but you're always on the boxing.
Yeah, answer your inbox, man. I'm trying to hit you up for the channel. I'm trying to get Aldo there too. So.
I know. I want to start. I just end up missing it a lot of the times.
People, you need to check out the Second Renaissance link in the description. The Second Renaissance. We talk about everything.
That's a good channel.
Boxing.
Although to be fair, though, boxing is pretty self-reflective of like politics. If you look at just everything, I mean, look at what happened when Russia invaded. They were basically not going to sanction any Russian fighters. Remember when there was like drama about will Bill even keep his title fighting Canelo simply because he was Russian? I mean,
they didn't play his national anthem.
It affects the real world.
They played a different
boxing.
The Russian one. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't play his Russian national anthem. It was disgusting how they treated him.
No,
They were
he's
talking
not
about,
even.
they were
Guys, he's
talking
not.
about pulling
Jimmy,
the
he's not
belts.
Russian.
The
He's not
WBC, I mean the
Russian.
WBA actually said they were considering pulling the belts from the Russian champions.
He's not Russian.
You know what I mean?
Jimmy,
what's that,
he's
Bucho?
he's not Russian. He comes from somewhere in California. Remember? Indio, California. That's right. By the way, Dennis from Boston. Thank you for your contribution. He says a bit political. Go to San Francisco. Yeah, when you're going to San Francisco, man, that place looks like not a place you want to be.
Your step, your left foot will step in shit, and your right will step on a needle.
Sometimes I wonder how the fuck is it like the U.S. is supposed to be a first world country, and it's starting to look like not a first world country.
To live in San Francisco, the cheapest, like an apartment, 1-bedroom apartment, if you're up, say, in the Fish District, you're talking about $3,500, $4,000 a month for a 1-bedroom studio, and you pay the most insane taxes. And why do you pay taxes? Number one reason you pay taxes is for protection, the police. And when you can have people literally camp out on your sidewalk, you open your front door and they have a fucking camper or a tent on your sidewalk, and some lady's got her drawers down, taking a dump in the gutter. You're like, what am I doing? That's why there's a flight. They're losing people at record numbers out of those areas.
Yeah, I've seen that, and even in the nice cities like San Diego. Hey, Jimmy, I was going to ask you because when who was it? Amex on the Discord.
Yeah, he's
You
there.
guys brought up Indio, California, the Russians, Dmitry Bivol. I think he's got a good chance at being fighter of the year when he fights if he beats El Zurdo. What do you think about Bam Rodriguez with the performance against Israel Gonzalez? Did he do? He won, but is he still in contention?
Yeah.
If he goes on and fights again, if he fights again in December like he wants to fight again in December. If he does, and he fights another top end guy and wins, that'll be 4 big wins. Yes, how can you not? What will hurt him is his.
Yeah.
Even if he fights a 4th time, how can he not? The only thing would hurt him is he's the smaller size, and they just have to do so much better to get the recognition.
But that's changing, though. No, didn't Chocolatito win Fight of the Year at some point? Oh no!
And they put Inoue as number 1 pound for pound, which I was shocked. I'm like, good for them.
No, it's. I think he has a good chance now. I think it's different times now. They're giving more credit to these lower weight classes.
Hey man, he's going really hard. He might end up getting burned out like quick in his career because all them little dudes are tough. And if you bring it like him, because you say you're like the Lomachenko, man, and like you're gonna have it in tough because them dudes are gonna keep their eyes open. They're gonna punch you, and you're not gonna take the angles. It's like if Chavez would have fought Lomachenko, man. The little dudes are tough. Like the guy he fought, even though they might be more limited. That's one of those things, and he's got a target on him. And fighting 4 fucking times a year, he's a smaller guy, moving from 108. That's a lot of.
You know what?
To his credit, he's a very clean kid. Doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. Like he doesn't party. He's a very keeps his shit in the off season. So
I was gonna say that. Yeah, that's gonna help for sure, and that's good, man. So he might have a long career. Yeah, we know in those weight divisions, it's you usually have a short career. What I like about those weight divisions is that we get the fights that we want. Why? Because these guys can't sit around, like these PBC guys or these guys in higher weight divisions. They can't just sit around and get paydays, right? They're little weight divisions, lower weight divisions, and they don't get a lot of attention sometimes. So in order to get attention, they need to fight each other consistently, right? So that's what I like about those divisions. They don't sit around. They all fight each other.
Yeah, they need to make. They need to be more sustainable because they ain't making like millions, maybe 100,000 or I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, they don't get paid that much, also, right? So in order to keep the money flowing, they have to keep fighting the biggest fights they can get.
Well, PBC get ready to shut down. They have like a tournament. Have a huge tournament, a going out sale, at least recoup somebody.
I wish, man.
Like Inoue, he makes pennies on the dollar compared to what he makes in endorsements in Japan. He makes tens of millions of dollars in endorsements. in Japan in athletic wear, sneakers. He's got a doll. Oh yeah, dude, he's a national treasure over there.
Yeah, I've seen.
Japanese treat their fighters very well.
Yeah. No, yeah. Listen, it's a lot of people don't pay attention to the lower weight divisions, and I'm not saying I'm an expert on the lower weight divisions, but I know that there's a lot of talent down there, and yeah, like some people don't even know that Inoue is like a superstar over there. It doesn't all have to take place in the United States. That's the thing, though. There's a world out there.
Well, it's the guys who call and say, "Who the fuck is Inoue fought?"
Yeah.
Have you ever seen one of his fights? No. Like Mirage, never heard of that. You would call it. Never heard of anybody he fought, but then was going to say he hasn't fought anybody. Like, dude, you just said you've never seen anybody he's fought. How? Well, I've never heard of him. So what's that fucking? What does that mean? But if you look at his rankings, okay, there was 5 guys in a row he fought. The lowest they were ranked was number 3 in the world, Inoue, including one guy who had 42-1. His only loss was against a prime Donaire. Has never been off his feet. Fucking, he fights Inoue and gets obliterated in 2 rounds. 2 rounds. Never been off his fucking feet while he do fights. Then he fights a guy number 2 on the traditional ranking boards, and he takes him out in the second round. There was like 4 guys in a row. He blew out the lowest ranked guy was number 3 in the world, and he blew them all out in the second round. That's amazing. That's fucking amazing.
Yeah,
dude. If one of these welterweights were doing it, they'd be fucking dick riding. We know this.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah, he's pound for pound, man. That guy, he's probably pound for pound number 1.
Real quick,
they're flopping when he hits.
I got a question though about Pounder. Where was Canelo ranked right before this fight? Does anybody know?
5 or
I
3?
think 5.
Yeah,
I
no, he wasn't 3. He wasn't 3.
The ring had him.
Yeah, the ring.
I think the ring brought him down to 7.
Oh, so he went up by 2. He's at and Bivol took his spot at 7.
Okay.
I'm looking at it right now.
Well, yeah, exactly. When did they update it?
Update it?
Yeah, that's the thing.
I don't know. But if it's
immediately after the fight,
if what Jimmy said was true, then he's now 5.
Yeah,
he went up
5.
2.
So maybe he was already. Oh, okay. So, yeah, because I knew he was below he was out of the top 3 after the Bivol loss.
So he's behind.
List gets updated. The pound for pound list gets updated when one of the guys that are in the pound for pound fight.
Oh, really?
Whoever it is.
Real quick, the dude right. You wanna know who's right in front of him? You wanna know who's right in front of Canelo? It's Spence.
Oh yeah, it's Spence. Yeah. Fuck. I don't know, man.
What metric besides not having a loss can you put him above Canelo? I don't even like Canelo, but let's be real here. What metric besides just a loss?
Who are you talking about? Spence.
Why? Like because he's saying why?
I mean, Canelo's in multiple divisions. He's undisputed at 6'8".
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's more active, way more active.
It's true. Is Spence undisputed? If you want to look at belts, no, he has 3 out of the 4. He's pretty close, but he's not. He's waiting for that Crawford fight. We've been waiting for that shit for I don't know how many years. By the way, Rapax Trucking Company, thank you for your contribution. He says Bam Rodriguez channeled his inner Salido. Yes, he did. He channeled that, and we saw it.
He's not as active, Spence, because of the car accident or whatever. We remember we mentioned Canelo fighting 3-4 times in 11 months. He's more active.
You know what I like about Bam too? He wears those little professor glasses, his little round glasses, and he wears a polo shirt. He looks like a little professor, you know what I mean, like a little college kid. And then he'll fucking put your lights out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like don't guess wrong with that kid. Don't shoot your mouth off at him at the movies.
You got something going there because that's the nickname of the brother. The Joshua.
Oh, really?
They call him El Professor. Yeah.
Oh no shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah, someone else's nickname, the Professor. Yeah, Bam Rodriguez got a brother.
Very soft-spoken kid, very polite. You can tell he's just a good kid who was raised right, and he's just he's an intelligent kid, but he's very unassuming. He's the type of dude somebody would fucking have a couple of beers in him. Say, look at that little kid. I'm gonna push him around. And then next thing you know, you're missing your fronts and you're laying up on you're in the ground in a fetal position making girly noises. No,
They say he was going low. I did watch it, but I was kind of toasted because it was like Independence Day weekend. So I remember like what's his name, the trainer Robert Garcia. He said it in the past before. When they go low, we go low. And I just remembered that stuck in my mind. And I don't know, what was Israel Gonzalez going low, that he was going low back, or was he just like the one that was going low first? Because he got a point taken away.
Yeah.
It looked like it was in the deliverance of his punch. It didn't. It just looked like the way, you know what I mean? Sometimes you throw it out, to the body in a certain way. And if you just catch the guy, say he's a little farther out, so the shot would have landed, say, in his midsection. But if he steps in while you're throwing your punch, now he's closed that distance. So now the trajectory of that shot's going to land lower. A couple of times that happened. But still, you're in control of your punches. You punch somebody in the nuts, you punch them in the nuts. But it didn't look deliberate as much as like I've seen, like, because, he is definitely a chippy guy. Like if you punch him low, he's going to punch you low. He definitely is that type of kid. But the second one was strange because he punched him in the hip, and the kid still went down.
That was pretty tough, the Israel Gonzalez guy. I want to see him fight again.
Hey, going back to the Spence thing, they're talking about whether he deserves to be that high in the pound for pound rankings. If he beats Crawford, he's going to the number one spot, according to these guys.
You think so?
Not to me, but I'm sure they're going to do it. I wouldn't put him number one if he beats Crawford, but I think they will. I mean, they already have him fucking number 4.
Yeah, the only contender for that one spot, because if that fight gets made, right, probably both ESPN and Ring would put, because Ring already has Crawford at number 1. Or not Ring, ESPN, right? They already have Crawford at number 1. And I think they have Spence like number 2 or 3. It's kind of insane how high he's on there too.
ESPN's a cool guy list. It's a cool kid list. You know what I mean? The most popular. That's what a lot of their guys do.
That's not. I think the reason why Spence is, he's high on both, but why he's higher on ESPN is because of his relation to Crawford. Like then it'll just make either one of them look good, But they're rooting for Crawford because obviously he was fighting with them for a while,
Weird situation. I like Spence better as a person, but I like Crawford better as a fighter. I think Crawford will beat him. But if I was to hang around with one of them, Spence seems like a good dude, down to earth family guy.
Yeah.
But plus he likes, you see videos back at his house, he likes to ride his dirt bikes and shit. He seems like he really appreciates his family and shit. No, I just like the way, I like his hobbies. I'd be more inclined to hang out with him.
I heard he's a fun driver right here.
Jamal Charlo.
He's a country.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear it first. But Jamal Charlo, his hobby is shooting. That dude owns a lot of guns and a lot of real expensive guns too.
Yeah, when it comes to Crawford and Spence,
I'd have a lot in common with him.
When it comes to Crawford and Spence, it's not really about disliking or liking that guys. It's just about them not fighting each other, and it's hard to believe that they didn't have the power to make this fight happen.
Hey, they haven't announced it or what?
Well, that's the thing. It's not even. We're talking about as if they made this fight already. It's not even signed. Like I don't know what's fucking going on. It's not official.
It's shocking. It's shocking because they released a fucking a press release. You don't ever. I've never seen somebody release a press release saying it's all done. Both guys have agreed on principles.
Yeah.
And right now we're ironing out the fine points. That usually takes 48 hours. The fact that it's been over a week, almost 10 days since they announced that, and it's still, so it's obviously more than just a couple of predictions.
Well, why release it? Release it?
Yeah, those small things.
Jimmy,
I think because they were trying to remind people about the fight because Canelo Triple G was that Saturday. So I think the boxing people were gathered at Twitter. It was a time because remember. Boxing Twitter kind of goes dark. When there's nothing going on in boxing, you'll just see it. It just kind of dries up a little. But people go to it when there's a fight that week. Oh, what's going on in boxing? Let's see what's going on. So I think they announced it then because they thought they probably had it. But whatever those sticking points are, they're big enough. Now, here's a key. I keep hopping on this. PBC, Spence is their guy, but it was their press release that put all the hold up financially on Spence. Their press release said Crawford has given in to every financial demand. That's huge. That's almost like they're kind of shaming, in my opinion, they're almost kind of shaming whatever's holding it up. Must be Spence, because why would they kind of give him a dig? Why would they praise Crawford's willing to get off his square to make this fight happen?
Jimmy, I was hearing that too. I was hearing that it was taking, I think, 35% like that. But then Earl, I guess he's taking a fight while I want more. I'm like, what the fuck, bro? Is he trying to duck? That's like a duck.
I think he's been secure with his money. I think he's done all right with it. I don't think he lives flashy. I think, and he said himself, he's fine with it. If I never fight Crawford, I'm perfectly all set with that.
Well,
he doesn't talk very confident.
I'm not talking about
no,
money.
but I'm saying, but he was talking about retiring. Like he could walk away, retire right now, and he's fine.
Yeah.
So that was like, wow, really? It was odd to me that he would use that terminology. You know, it doesn't sound like. And remember, when your fan base, not you, but Spence's fan base has done nothing but denigrate Crawford, denigrate his achievements. That's not what you do. You don't talk a fighter down. You talk him up. You generate entrance. But Spence's fans have done nothing but badmouth Crawford. And all of a sudden, now the fight's like, why isn't this, happening? And Crawford's great. This is the fight with has. Like, where was that energy for fucking 4 years?
Jimmy, why are they going after
People go on Twitter and argue
Jimmy,
why the fight shouldn't happen. Remember, Bucho?
Jimmy, why are they going after Crawford?
He was signed with Bob. He was signed with Bob. Simple as that.
So what?
Yep. Errol Spence was PBC when they were like dick riding PBC really like hard. Well,
yeah, but he's no longer.
It was all PBC.
But they're supposed to.
Barbershop. I'm sorry, Bucho. What's that?
No, Jimmy, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, remember Barbershop conversation? What he said. I mean, he had this he had like a come to Jesus moment. He was on YouTube and he said. And he kind of got angry. He said, "We supported Al Hammond for no other reason than he was black, and we threw our full support behind him and his fighters, and we went after every fighter who wasn't with him." And he had this kind of thing. He was honest, and because of that, they drew a line in the sand. You were either with Al in the fucking PBC or you weren't, and you were an enemy. And if you were Bob, you were definitely the enemy because they hate Bob. They just despise him. Remember, they would say. Straight up, I mean, some of the biggest content contributors of the LDBC were saying, as long as he's with Bob, Errol should not make this fight. Like, why would you even say that? Like, who cares who he's with? Make the fucking fight. But that was their stance.
Shut the fuck up.
It's funny, too, because they don't keep it for all the same. Because, like, most of them still fucking ride with Shakur, and he signed with Bob. So it's a bit of a weird point as well. If you look at they support him. So why is
they
such
went
an
after
issue
him a
with
little
Crawford?
bit.
Yeah,
I think they zinged him a little bit with Dante when he went after him about saying he disrespected his people because he threw homage. Remember his father's Spanish?
Yeah,
they dogged him for that.
Yeah, there's a bit of like I don't think it's all of the LDBC. There's definitely like this large portion of it that's like pro PBC, but I think they still support these guys that aren't with them,
Well, a lot of them are waking up to it, to be honest with you. Like Barbershop did. He's now interviewing Bob Arum all the time on his show. He's not even said straight up, I'm not done. I'm done covering for this. He said, I'm done pretending Tank A. Davis is actually fighting good people. He's telling his fans, don't buy his pay-per-views. Yeah, he's straight up saying it.
He said that PBC scam. They're bullshitting. It's all fabrications.
Yep.
Yeah.
He got banned because of that, dude. He can't never come to a press conference or nothing.
If you go by styles, like you see, maybe I think it's the LDBC that criticizes like the Lomachenko style, and they're more like what Black American, get on the back foot type of style, like and Spence is more aggressive, so I don't get why. The people that say that Spence is more aggressive wouldn't be thinking of like a Crawford, because a lot of times they praise that style, the Crawford style, but now they adopt Spence when they criticize also like a lot of Mexicans that fight like that. Not a lot, but it just shows that people are kind of weird when it comes to their fighters, like who they pick.
In general, people just pick and choose what talking point they want to side with on a certain issue.
Well, it all depends on the person itself, because but I just
I'm
watch
speaking in
boxing.
general, like casuals. Like a lot of people just don't have like consistency. You see
Yeah,
the same people making different arguments for different people. And it's like, well, this doesn't make sense for this other guy you like. Why are
You
you
could say
making
that a
this point?
Mexican comes forward, flat-footed, fucking like aggressive, and they undermine the skills because he just comes forward and is aggressive and can crack, take that
Yeah.
punch. Oh man, he's limited. He will lose to African American. But then you go picking Spence when you criticize other fighters that fight like Spence. Some people, I'm not saying that. I mean, people
hey,
can do whatever the fuck
that's
they
true.
want.
Hell
I'm
yeah,
just
that's
saying.
crazy. Because on that logic, Crawford beats Earl.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
consistency. That's the issue. Even if I disagree, as long as you're consistent, I don't got an issue really.
You know what's so funny too. One thing about this whole thing is, I hate when if you're with a lot of people, and it's not the LDBC, it's everybody across the board. A lot of people, if you pick one fighter, that means you hate the other fighter. Like if I say I think Crawford will beat Spence, oh, you fucking hate Spence, you're just a hater. What are you talking about? I like Spence, personally, their personality better, not that means anything, but I think he's a great fighter. Between the two, I can see a path to victory through Crawford with his attributes. Doesn't mean Spence isn't great. Spence is a great fucking welterweight, one of the best of his era. You know what I mean? How is that hate? You have to pick a winner. You have to pick a loser. Doesn't mean I hate the dude. It's just nuts. That whole thing. I hate that narrative.
There's an interesting question in the chat that says punchers always lose to boxers. That's partly true, but a lot of the times these old judges, they've always been biased towards that, and they don't know how to fucking score a fight.
No, it's a lot of the American style.
What does that even mean? Like a puncher and a boxer?
A
Like, you
boxer's
mean
on
just
the
a
back
guy
foot.
that punches hard and has no skill? Well, yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, less skilled people are going to lose to more skilled people. Yeah, that's not really saying much. That doesn't mean.
But sometimes you have these
But even
boxers
if
that are
you
on the
have a
back
skillful
foot and they're
puncher
boxing,
versus a
but
skillful,
they're on the
like,
back
boxer,
foot, right? Even
the judges,
commentators,
it's
even
easier to run
commentators,
away than come forward.
even commentators.
You guys hear Bucho?
Yeah.
Because I think all right. Because I think Bucho, is your thing turned all the way up? Your volume?
Fuck
Just a little bit. It was kind of breaking up. No, not really. He's breaking up, but yeah, he's trying to talk.
Oh,
now.
okay. I didn't know if because I'm having a hard
Wait,
time hearing him.
let him talk real quick. Let him talk without speak. Bucho, can you say something real quick just to test?
Yeah. Anyways, I don't know what's going on. Fuck. I was gonna say that sometimes
you sound clear.
These boxers are on the back foot and they're getting praised by certain commentators, right? And then it happened with Floyd Mayweather during that era, especially. They really started to give credit to boxers that were on the back foot. And you know what? I think that was in part the fault of HBO because they were promoting Floyd fights, right? And so it's their fighter. So they need to make you believe that you're watching something that you've never seen before, and it's something that. And this is boxing, right? He's not knocking out his opponents. He's not exciting, but he's boxing, guys. You have to understand that he's boxing, and they started to put that into people's minds and brainwash them. And so now we all have to believe that if you are not aggressive and you're on the back foot, you are boxing. But it's not true, man. It's not fucking true. If you're out of range, you're not fucking boxing. You're playing it
safe. What you said, they grab a term like the sweet science because somebody said it 100 years ago that's hit and not get hit. That fucking colloquial term, they'll hold on to it and they'll use it and they'll say, oh, it's like this because of that, for sure. You have to follow that because that's the sweet science. Not really.
And if you look at through history, that whole slick fighter beats a puncher, that's not true at all. First off, that style wasn't. I mean, go look out through history. Sugar Ray Robinson was as slick as they come, but he could knock your fucking head off too, and he would. Sugar Ray Robinson would beat you. You want to slick it out with him? It's like he'll beat you that way. You want to make it a fucking dog fight? He'd beat you that way. I mean, that's why I consider him the greatest fighter of all time, myself personally. Sugar Ray Robinson, but that's another story. But so there's plenty of history of that. Very seldom do guys who are very slick just can rely on that and actually be as good as the boxer puncher, the guy who has the ability to box but can light you up too.
Jimmy, somebody in the chat is saying D Money in the chat says hit and not get hit is boxing?
Well, yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
Well, I was going to say, sorry, but I was going to say real quick. Yes, boxing is this. It's capitalizing on somebody else's mistakes. That's all it is. Everybody's doing something. You're looking for somebody to make a mistake. You're in there, you're in a dance. You're waiting for fucking make a mistake. You're waiting for them to not pull his, throw a lazy jab, and you're going to catch over the top. It's all about that. It's just when you knock somebody out, it's because you capitalize on a mistake they made. So that's what boxing's really about. It's hide your defense. You hide your you exemplify or your strengths while trying to hide your defenses, and the whole time not trying to make a mistake that'll get capitalized on.
I mean, the simplest way to say what boxing is just the sport of punching.
Yeah.
That's really it. Who lands more punches? And, would you call boxing, okay, let's say for like 4 rounds, right? I hit you once and then run. Did I just win a boxing match just because I hit you and then didn't get hit?
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because the criteria is, the ring generalship.
I hit you.
There's ring generalship, right? If you hit me once and then you start running away, you could give me the round based on ring generalship. I'm controlling the action. You're the one running away. I'm in control. I'm controlling the ring. I could get the round like that. So yeah, that's too simplistic. Hit and not get hit. Like no.
And even they're adopting this mentality, and they're trying to still keep it relevant or bring it back to what Floyd was doing, and they're even ruining fighters that don't have like those natural boxing abilities. They're more aggressive and power punchers like Tank Davis, and they're fucking ruining that guy, and he's basically regressing, but they're still trying to sell it as if you don't throw a lot of punches like he was doing against Pitbull. Actually, Pitbull was the aggressive. You don't throw a lot of punches. I'm just going to stick out my arm trying to line you up and catch you with the shot and circle away and fucking get out of distance for a short dude like Tank Davis. They're trying to keep that in people's minds. But the whole Mayweather don't take punishment, that she gets the fucking fight. When that should have been a draw, or Tank Davis should have lost. That's what I'm saying.
Can I say something? I watched Shakur Stevens the other day. I didn't realize until I watched it again. I just rewatched the Shakur Valdez fight. I just wanted to look at some of the stuff Shakur does. But I noticed in that fight, you know what he did a lot that no other ref I would imagine is going to let him get away with? How many times he held his hand out on fucking Valdez's head, which is such a no-no. Usually, yeah, dude, the ref will fucking don't do that. You can't just hold your hand out in his face, holding him back and lining up your punch.
You think so?
That's just a.
I think a lot of times refs let that happen.
Floyd used to do that.
What's that? No, you can't. You can't just hold your hand out.
No. But I remember Floyd did it.
It's illegal. They let that shit happen.
Didn't Floyd do it?
Extent, but not once you make contact. Like when you're holding the dude's head, he did that a lot. Like you can stick your arm out to gauge distance. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying leave a hand out. That's what a jab is for. A jab is a distance finder.
Yeah, in the
distance locator.
In the chat, Funker rates. In the chat, Funker rates. It's called measuring. Sets Funk rates in the chat. Measuring, and it's a foul when you're measuring.
And he was doing it over and over. And he got 2 warnings, but that was it. He should have been warned a lot more. He should have. I mean, he was doing it. But again, to his credit, if they weren't going to take a point away, why fucking stop doing it? But I was surprised how much he was doing it.
Another fighter that does it a lot?
Valdez's corner should have said something. Should have made a stink about that.
2 fighters that post or measure, whatever way you want to refer to it. Wilder and Fury. They both do it a lot.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is illegal to to touch somebody, to measure them that way. You're not supposed to be able to do that. You usually...
This kind of shows you that these
Hagler, somebody tried to do it to Hagler. You know what he used to do? Punch him in the elbow. He used to tell us that too. Somebody ever does that shit to you, punch their elbow.
These referees...
was awesome at that too. Sugar Ray Robinson. You try to measure him, he would give you such a quick counter to your elbow. And I don't know if you guys have ever had your arm extended, somebody punch you in the elbow. Fucking hurt. Makes your arm go numb for like a round. It's crazy. And Sugar Ray Robinson and actually Marvin Hagler told us about that when we were kids. Somebody asked him a question, what would they do? And Hagler was like, you fucking punch him in the elbow. They won't do it again. Hagler can be mean as a motherfucker.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Shakur, because I saw someone earlier in the chat say that why is he fighting Conceição? This is like one of the worst fights ever. Do people actually believe this stuff? Like Conceição is like the dark horse of the division.
Yeah, he beat Valdez. You could say, you know what I mean? So.
Oh, he's kind of like they're giving him another chance because some people thought that he beat Valdez.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he got robbed. He did.
Yeah,
he beat him, bro.
It's a good fight.
Then it's a gold medalist versus a silver medalist.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm seeing a lot of people saying that this is like a trash fight. I'm really wondering why people are saying that.
I guess because
because honestly,
yeah,
Shakur from this end gets a lot of hate, and I'll be the first one to admit it. He gets undue hate. You might not like him, he might not be exciting to you, but just because he's not exciting to you, don't bash the talent he does have. Because clearly he's a very talented boxer. He's got lightning quick hands, very, very fucking one of the highest connect ratios in boxing. He very seldom misses his punches. He's great at distance. You know what I mean? So, you don't want to fucking yell at him because he hasn't been exciting.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's a lot of Valdez fans. That's exactly what it is. Shakur beat his ass and got the decision. Conceição beat his ass and got robbed. That's the truth.
Well, it goes way back before in the Nakatila fight. There's some things that, on the internet, people are going to say something that they're going to find reasons to not like you. Especially like when you say, I don't like to get hit. Remember with Nakatila? I don't like to get punched. For a boxer that's supposed to be that good, he don't like to get hit. And then some of the statements that he made later about how they're doing a disservice to black fighters. Like they're racist. He was throwing shots at somebody. Then the whole thing with Joel Gonzalez's sister, that people, Joel Gonzalez's father's racist, but then he ended up dumping the chick, just like the father said or thought, and it wasn't like what people try to make it out to be. And there's certain things, with the whole thing that he punched the chick at the 7-Eleven, and the clown has fucking grain from ear to ear. Like pretends to be like a nice guy, but he's actually a crip.
Wow.
What'd you say? He's a crip?
I don't think anyone says Shakur is a good guy.
No. I thought you meant he was an actual. I thought you meant he was an actual crip. I'm like, really?
Gang member,
I don't know. Maybe.
But look, what I can't say, what I know what the hate is, the only fight I was bored with was that Nakatila fight. I really get sleepy. But other than that, he's way better than Haiti. That's why I can't understand the hate. I understand the hate with Haiti, but Shakur himself, I've never been really bored watching his fights. For that Nakatila,
he had some boring fights. What was the fight against before the Conceição fight?
Nakatila, right?
No. Wait. For who? For who?
Is that the one? Are you talking about the one that that Tim Bradley went off on him at the end of the fight, saying this was
inexcusable? Shakur?
Shakur, it was a fight
Valdez.
where
that was his last fight.
Tim Bradley.
No, before that one.
No,
Herring. It was Herring.
Herring?
Herring. Oh yeah, Herring. That's right.
Herring, that was a fake fight.
Yeah, but then again, Herring didn't come to fight though. That was
that was a bullshit fight. I mean, this dude literally forgot the most simple of boxing basics. The 1-2. He barely threw it.
Yeah,
and it was open.
He was too good, man. He was too good.
No, there was a fight that was boring. I don't remember which one, but there was a fight that was boring as hell.
He actually fucking won it, and then he just go back. What's going on?
There was the Nakatila fight is the one that they went off on him.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the one against Shamal.
You know what Shakur's biggest skills are? He's a southpaw and he goes good to the body. He'll hurt you with the left to the body. And another, when they say timing beats speed, well, this guy's got speed and he's got timing. Well, timing, you could have it, and sometimes if you're not sharp, you won't. But he throws quick and he'll time you too, so that'll bamboozle you. He actually carries some power along with the speed, speed and timing. It'll shock you before you realize you get punched.
Yeah.
So I think those are his qualities.
Yeah, it's speed. Like people don't realize speed will stop you as quick as power. Like power will stun you. Like Triple G's punches are slower, but they hurt so much and they're so brain shaking that it makes you stop. Whereas Shakur's talent makes you feel and look stupid. Like, plop, your head goes back. Like, God damn, I just ate that jab. It's just when you eat a jab so cleanly that you're even saying, okay, he's going to jab his jab. He gets you anyways. It's defeating. It just, you start feeling like, man, I'm starting to really look stupid. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
and that's
not only-
his speed will do that. That's how fast his hands are.
Yeah,
That
with
might
the
be
speed,
true,
that'll
but I
make your-
think. Go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say,
No, I was just gonna-
at least for the. Oh, okay, I'll just go. But for that Herring fight, man, I think something was fishy about that, man. I really do. You go look back at that fight. The dude just didn't.
Hold on. Breaking news. Earl Spence versus Crawford has been signed for November 19th.
Let
shit.
me check.
November 19th confirmed. Live on pay-per-view.
From who? Where's the source?
Right.
Who's the source?
Dan Raphael. No, I'm joking.
I'll send it to you right now. Give me a second.
Yeah, drop it in the Discord chat that we're in right now.
Logical Man's channel. Breaking news from the Logical Man.
All right, somebody confirm this.
Get here.
That's crazy. We
I'm not seeing Benson. I'm not seeing Cappinger. I'm not seeing anything. So I'm wondering where you're getting this from.
Are you making this
I'm
up?
not saying I don't trust you. I'm not saying I don't trust you, but I'm just saying I'm not seeing it anywhere. You got some quick sources.
Yeah, I got the inside, man.
But back to what I was saying though, real quick. Yeah, that Herring fight, man. Something. I think he could have done much better. I think he somehow forgot how to throw very simple boxing combos, and that's why he looked dumb. I think it has less to do with Shakur than it did something prior. I don't know what it was, but
Well, that dude's old too. He was a Marines, man, and man, when you're in the Marines, he's not necessarily young for boxing either, but your knees get messed up in the military. You just look old.
He did well for one round. He did do well, and then he stopped fighting that same way. What's going on? He got the perfect advice from Bobak. It wasn't the speed though, because the speed wasn't messing with him in the fifth, where he actually fought back.
That's what he said. It was the speed was he couldn't overcome the speed.
Well, that was
it made him second guess himself. He couldn't just deal with it. I mean, my prediction for that fight. I predict that fight. I predict it was going to be a whitewash. I knew he'd beat Valdez, but I predicted against the Herring. If you go back and listen, I said this fight's not even competitive. I thought he was going to fucking do exactly what he did to him because Jamel doesn't have the power. He had to go in there and make it dirty. He had to go in there and make it a rough fight. He went in there to try to box him. Like, what was he thinking? That was the worst game plan.
From ESPN. Okay.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, I'm quick on it like that. I had a friend that's on the inside to send me that real fast. Oh, shit, let me go.
Multiple sources till ESPN. Well, we'll see, man. I hope so, for sure.
I'm telling you, bro, it's signed. I'm telling you right now. You hear it from last minute.
All right, people. So this is from ESPN. All right, sources.
Fine.
Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford agreed to terms for a potential mega. Okay, agreed to terms, but so that's it.
But then the word, but then the word says,
from Coppinger.
But then the word.
Oh, guys. However, this is from September 15th. Okay, come on. This is from September 15th, or on the 21st. And it says that deal has not been signed. This is what we knew already.
You're just repeating the same thing.
Look at what you just read. It says potential mega fight.
Yeah, this is from a few days ago. This is old.
Okay, I think someone trolled you, man. I think they sent you
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same article from the other day that they came to all terms. They came to all the terms for November 19th. It was the same release they released about 8 days ago. But it's the particulars they haven't ironed out. They still haven't.
Well,
don't embarrass me like this. Don't embarrass me like this.
No, why? That ain't your fault, dude. You were fucking told something.
No, you should have done a better job.
He betrayed you. He backstabbed you, man.
He backstabbed you. Where's the clown music?
Oh shit! Now I'm embarrassed, man. I can never be shown for a while. Y'all want to see me for a week or so.
Yeah, but dude, if you would have said fucking you know what I mean, you were told by somebody, but you were told by somebody that they would give you fucking faulty info. It happens. I've been given bogus, so I went off bogus information once.
Listen,
it does suck.
The real clown is this dude fucking Coppinger when he said sources confirm it's agreed, and now literally more than a week later, we know nothing still.
Yeah, what did Canelo call him out in the last press conference? Or somebody says,
Yeah.
"Hey, you or Coppinger, you don't know what you're talking about." And he
Well,
had
you
like
can-
the cheesy look. I know how he looks like now because he got pointed out in one of the press conferences, post fights. I can't recall who
Shut
it
up!
was, but somebody went on. Yeah. Oh,
Well,
that
to
was
be
Bob
fair-
Shut
Arum,
up, you
right?
prick!
I remember
Remember
someone
it was
that
Bob
like
Arum
on him.
said, "Shut up, you prick!" There was the one
Well, I
Bob
will
Arum
say,
said,
though,
"Shut up, you prick!"
for that
And he started
Canelo
with
fight,
that "come fucking punch me" face. Yeah,
Canelo thinks
that's
too.
all he kept saying to
Yeah.
Bob.
You know what you
well, I will
guys-
say for Coppinger, to his credit, he did accurately say that I think the plant fight, and then all the fans and Canelo said, "I'm not doing that side." He chose the DAZN. Oh no, it was the DAZN side where he said that I'm picking DAZN, the Triple G and Bivol package, right? He confirmed that like a day or two before it was official. Canelo
Yeah,
said
but
that's
that was
fake.
the
I
only
haven't
thing,
decided,
yeah.
and then he ended up doing it anyways.
Shut the fuck
he was
up, you
kinda
little
right.
prick.
So,
But
I
yeah,
hope
he
he's
was
right,
also.
but yeah,
Hey,
it's still not right.
But
Shut the fuck up, you
Coppinger was
little
also
prick.
saying shit the day like Plant would say something and he was repeating everything Plant said right from his camp, but not putting in. He did the same thing with the fucking Munguia Chalo fight. All he did was push the PBC's angle, and he basically straight up blamed Golden Boy for doing the same thing that fucking PBC.
Hey, prick.
PBC would let Chalo go to the zone, and Golden Boy wouldn't let Munguia go to the
Prick.
PBC. But even though they were both doing the same exact thing, it was the zone's fault. But that was the reason why they get access. That's the reason why LB slipped some shit. But LB kind of, something happened there with LB and him. That's the reason why he suddenly went to Dan Raphael. I think Coppinger's done it. Plus, Coppinger said something, and then LB called him a liar. Said, "Oh, what, we're going to believe you? Come on, dude." So it's like, wait a minute, you just cut the balls off him. How are you going to use him to fucking leak your pay-per-view numbers when you just called him a liar? So I don't know if
I
that
think
had something
these
to do with it, but
guys
something happened
in the
over there.
media, I think they're they have a good way of just eliminating emotion and like personal grudges. They're just in it for the next scoop or whatever, you know, the first close. That's what's really motivating them. These insults or whatever,
Coppinger,
that can
They don't
be
he's a
give a
fucking
shit.
squash.
he's not a boxing guy. He did NHL. He's an NHL guy. He really knows hockey, but he couldn't make it. There's too many guys in that already.
Yeah, it's
so he did the
saturated.
niche thing of his father.
Yeah.
But all right, you want to know if somebody really knows what they're talking about when it comes to boxing? I don't want a guy to tell me the latest story, the latest scoop he got. Talk to me like, all right, for instance, between Steve Kim and Coppinger, 2 years before Coppinger, the name Bam Rodriguez ever was in one of his Twitter threads, because you just go to his page, punch in Bam Rodriguez, and it'll go out to his whole history. And the first time he tweeted about Bam ever was this year in January. Steve Kim's been talking about that guy since 2017, when he had 2 fights saying, keep your eye out on this guy. So what does that tell you? Steve has the eye for talent. He has an eye for the sport. There's guys who, remember, he started out as a boxing fan and the love of boxing and parlayed that into a job in journalism, whereas Coppinger came out of college as a journalist and landed in boxing because at the USA Today, I guess nobody else was covering it. So, you know what I mean? Like, there's a difference. And there's a bunch of guys like that. They just, it's like, this good mechanic can diagnose a car, and then there's mechanics who just replace the parts that they tell them need to be replaced. You see what I'm saying? And he falls in that category.
I want to say something real quick, to the I'm Don Popeye. I'm really loud when I'm not ducking you, Don Brutus. Papa, you're Don Brutus. Papa the Savior, man. At the end of the day, I get olive oil. Sorry, I just don't want to bring the beef over here.
All right. All right, guys, listen, we should shut it down. So, yeah, it's been almost 3 hours, so let's call it a night here. Want to thank you for joining us, people. Jump in on Friday. Open Lines Friday. Don't forget, Open Lines Friday, anything goes, so don't complain about it's too crazy, it's out of control. It's Friday, guys. That's how it works.
Right.
Yeah.
Today was a
message is
good
up
show.
there. No, you put it up there, no, Bucho? Don Popeye? Yeah, I just responded to that.
What?
On the top, Don Popeye. You put that up there, right?
I don't know. The Don? Who are you talking about?
Yeah, the message on top of the, because people are like, all right, or like, what am I saying? Don Popeye real on the top. Yeah, now it changed. Okay, anyways. I'm
Yeah, I
just
can't.
replying.
Yeah, I know you were replying. I just can't find it, man. But anyways,
It's gone. It's gone.
got it. I got it. Don't pop pie real
Whatever.
loud when
I'm
I'm
just
not
joking,
around.
anyways. Just for fun.
I think it's just for fun. Anyways, guys, take care. See you next time. Everybody on YouTube, I want to thank you for joining us. And again, Fridays, anything goes. Open lines. Join us. Fuck, now I can find the song that I used for the intro. I'm just gonna play this. What is this? I don't like this. It sounds good.